Welcome to Virginia. Known for its timeless elegance, diverse culture, and picturesque landscapes, the state boasts a collection of exquisite homes nestled amidst charming towns and rolling countryside. Join us as we visit a sprawling 12,000 square foot property, a quaint and cozy 1830s home, an expansive art-filled space with vast gardens, and a traditional stone home in the country. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey, Homeworthy, I'm Sharice.
I'm Keon.
And welcome to our new build in Richmond, Virginia. I'm so excited y'all are here. We cannot wait to show you guys our most favorite parts of the home. So are you ready? Come on in, guys. You're in for a treat.
Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles?
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Sharice Jones.
I'm Keon Jones.
And we are in Richmond, Virginia. This is our home that we started the process to build, I want to say 2.5 years ago.
At least 2.5.
Yeah, it feels like forever. So anytime you want to build a new home, pack your patience, same thing with renovating. So we set out, we purchased the land in December of 2020, somewhere
October,
around
November,
there.
December.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And we set out to build this 12,000 square foot modern white stucco home. This home is pretty much everything that we want in one space.
Agreed.
And it was really important to me to have beautiful spaces to house my designs in, and also a lovely area for our children to grow up. And I know other things were really important to you.
Yeah, I just needed garages. I love cars. So as long as I had my garages, a pool in the back, I was good.
Yeah. But can you swim now?
Not yet. It's coming. It's not that deep. I can walk.
Oh, yeah, you can.
For now.
Okay, yeah.
I'm working on that though.
The home on the outside is actually all Keon, right? And so all of the decisions from the exterior, the landscaping, and like all of those things you were
structure, everything. Yeah. I think the biggest thing was I could probably do a little bit of decor, not much. I'm not even going to say that. Exterior, that's all me all day. And so just really making the decisions on, I guess the right terminology instead of stucco is ephes. And so I guess it's a new product that's being used, learning more about that. Down to the garages, the lighting, adding an additional sidewalk to get to the back of the house, how we wanted every little nook and cranny to operate. And so once that was done, I bought her one. I was like, you got to take the inside. I mean, I got the walls are up. I don't know what else to do as far as that goes. So,
well, the fun fact is that I am superbly grotesqued by like construction and things that are already pretty. Like, I don't want to be, don't involve me, right? Bring me in when it's time for me to fly and flutter and create and like design and imagine, right? And so this space, I'm a designer by trade. And so this space was just like a canvas to me. And I wanted to have my first try at creating furniture and creating lighting. So that's exactly what I did, right? Because I did try to find, they'll take you to these lighting companies around town, or you can look on the internet, right? And I just like I taught myself how to design in my brand. I just couldn't find the things that like tickled my fancy. I couldn't find them, so I had to create them. And so from the lighting to our furniture and some of the tables and the art and all, it was very intentional for the space. Now, my design aesthetic is something that I call troho, right? So it's a combination of boho, bohemian, and also tribal, right? And so it's just a lot of wild, eclectic colors clashed together. And for me, none of it has to make sense, right? I do what I feel, we live how we want, and the space just comes together. Now, outside of the things that I designed, how I shop is I buy what I like, right? So just a tip for you viewers at home, never put yourself like in this pigeonhole of like getting in a store and you fall in love with a thing and you sit in the aisle with your cart. Legit, you're going over round in your mind and like, what am I gonna do with this? Where is this gonna go? And you're trying to predetermine its destination, right? Just feel it and decide, and then get it home, and the universe will work on your behalf, right? And that's exactly how I also designed the home with the things I didn't create. It's just like if we're in Home Goods or TJ Maxx or, shopping on CB2 or whatever it is, I'm like, I like that. I'll figure out a way to integrate it and make it work. Like, decisions later. So what I love most about this home is definitely, I'm gonna give you two things. I can't just give you one. It's really the way that it feels for us, right? It enhances my creativity. There's pops of color everywhere. So it really enhances my chi, and it just makes me feel vibrant. So that's the first thing. The second tangible thing is my closet. My closet. I am a shopper. I am a girl's girl. I love big, bold, bright, in your face things. And so I buy them, but I also create them. And so I wanted a space to display my work and the things that I love and purchase, but I wanted to be able to spread them out so that I can appreciate them, because I feel like when you can see your things, you tend to dress better, you tend to make better decisions and use all of your things because they're not forgotten about, right? So I like to spread them out and just kind of sit and appreciate them. So for me, it's my closet, homie. What would you say?
It's a little tough for me. I would say the best part for me is going to be the movie theater.
Yeah.
That was really big on, like, first it was just an empty space just sitting on slabs. So one thing you'll notice when you get to the basement is we kept the cement slab there. There's no floor covering. What is it called? We did a epoxy.
Epoxy.
So you'll see a little bit of a shine in the design on the floor later on. But the biggest thing for me was the movie room. And I was very much like, what do I do? So we had a what do you call it, technology type company come by and gave me this crazy quote for all of this extra stuff. I was like, things outdate too fast. So I'm like, no, I need to see my speaker. It can't be in the wall. And so I went to Best Buy, got everything I needed to get done, which you'll see later is amazing, right? But for me, it's somewhere I can go. There's no windows. I can disconnect. It is underground, technically. And it's just quiet, right? It's super, super comfortable. We are in there a lot as a family.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time in there. That's really the main place we watch TV. So that's our movie night. We try to do that a couple of nights a week. The kids, tear it up most of the time. So, but that's the space for me. I can just relax. It doesn't matter what I'm watching. I'm really big on nature, so I stay a lot on the nature channel, and I love YouTube. So I'm always on YouTube watching cars. But it's just a quiet space. I can disconnect from the entire family if I'm by myself.
All right, well, Keon will be joining us a little bit later on. I'm gonna show you guys what I've been having so much fun curating and designing and creating. So welcome to the first part of our home, which is the foyer. What's really important to me is color in my life and style and design. So as soon as you walked in, I wanted you to see this humongous array of art. It's literally art on art. So I decided to do a floor to ceiling wallpaper of a art piece that's called African Wave. So this wall is actually 25 feet tall and about 15 feet wide. And I wanted to cover it in that troho sort of aesthetic that we were talking about earlier. And once I was done with the wallpaper, I took a step back and I'm like, and this is how I create, right? It's like, am I done? Does the space need more? And you have to feel it. You have to be in it to know. And this was done about 5 months after we moved in. I'm humongous on not defining the space before I use it because I wanted to speak to me, you know, all of the things. So I was letting it speak to me, right? I said, Sharice, are you done with this? And the wall said back to Sharice, no, you are not done with this. You need a little bit of extra pop. And there's nothing to balance off color like black and white. So I was in, where are we? Home Goods, actually. Big up to Home Goods. I love a good discount store too. There's a lot of high-low in this house. That's how we live. But there was this painting and I saw it because of the texture, like it just really jumped out at me. And when I saw it in the aisle, I thought it was a horse and I was okay with that. It wasn't until I got it home and I was like, that's a whole unicorn. Like I see the horn. So like, there's nothing more appropriate in terms of art when you walk in the home to see color and a unicorn. So this buffet table I loved. I found this online. I want to say it's Anthropology. Anthropology, ladies and gentlemen, has amazing furniture pieces. And so I was really attracted to it also because of the texture. I'm a real texture sensory based feeler. And so this has this beautiful, beautiful velvet covering with these lovely marble details. And the hardware of the home is essentially soft gold. And it's crazy because remember stainless steel was like it was everything back in the day. And now gold is having its moment. And I'm sure like everything in fashion and in the earth just recycles. So gold is it for me right now. And it also very much speaks to my soft era, like femininity, but the color of it being bluish in that teal color tone also lends itself to masculinity as well. Now here are just some inspirations. And so we love a good coffee table book, but I definitely had to balance the black and white out with the book story. So decided to do a little Chanel, and I am a humongous lover of the one and only Iris Apfel. So she has this coffee table book, Rare Bird of Fashion. And this woman has to be my like kindred spirit. Like she just has to be. All of the big baubles and the bright colors and all of that, I just love. One thing about my coffee table books, they're not just coffee table books. I legit read them, and throughout the entire home, you'll see some open-faced as well, especially in my closet. Just because I don't want to forget anything. If this becomes a fixture, then it's just a fixture. I want to enjoy all of the things. The word of the home is texture and color and all of the things. So I was on Anthropology. Anthropology just has my spirit, my soul. And I wanted a piece that was traditional, but also really funky. So I found this beautiful tufted rug, which has a little bit of bohemian. You can see all of the like iCAD and like some of the symbols, very tribal symbols. But it has this lovely, lovely leopard just like spread out here, which is that black and white color story, which bounces off beautifully with the black and white canvas here. Now, when you actually step on it, like you were raised up, it has a really good heft to it, but the leopard is slightly raised a little bit higher. So there's this moment where you walk in the home and you're like lifted up, and it forces you to look down to see what happened. It's all part of the experience of entering the home. So everything is super, super intentional. I love this particular painting here. This was done by a local artist, and I felt it was necessary to not only decorate the home when you walked in, but when you're already inside of the home, you're in the living room, you're in the kitchen enjoying a drink, you're sitting down at the dining table just, having a little dinner. But when you look back into the foyer, there are also things looking back at you that are still interesting even when you're inside of the home. So this is beautiful, bright, and bold, and it's actually named sassafras. And it reminds me a lot of me, the lashes and the hair. So just bright, bubbly, and overall colorful. So let's step over to the piano. So fun fact, right now, we're taking digital piano lessons. We're looking for someone to come in and teach us. But this was our gift. It was a gift of learning. So when we moved into the house, this was like our celebration present to ourselves. We're gonna get the family a piano. And I actually heard, y'all tell me in the comments if this is true, children playing the piano, because I have twins, 8-year-old boys. I hear it helps them in school, like learning music, like math and things. So we're still working on that, but we'll see. But we're having so much fun learning digitally, and we just want to get better and better and practice more and more and more. But this is a baby grand. It sounds absolutely amazing. It tuned very, very well. But piano is classic, right? I wanted to funk it up with the bench. And I decided to go with this really funky abstract moment. It's really cushiony and very comfortable, but it plays off the black and white, but it still has a personality of its own, especially sitting on this cowhide rug. And if you look closely, it has a little bit of that metallic foil fleck that it just shines because there's a lot of natural light in here. And that's what the whole space is all about. It just needs to shine and help you feel, more alive. And I'm gonna take you upward. Let's go up now to the chandelier. I'm very proud of the chandelier. It's humongous, completely custom, and it fits the home, and especially at nighttime. If you're outside, like driving up to the home and you see this on, you're like, what in the world is that? Essentially, the chandelier is a whole bunch of pluses and minuses, right? It's 15 foot in length, a 5 foot on the width with a 5 foot drop. And it's so unexpected. It's not anything like a crystal chandelier or anything that is, anticipated. It's so matte, but also so very modern. So next, I'm going to show you guys my most favorite piece of art in the home. Follow me. So this beautiful painting was done in Kenya, and this was my 40th birthday gift from my husband. And so he surprised me with this painting. I have no idea how he pulled it off, but he did. When my grandfather, which is who this is, he transitioned about 6 years ago, but on my way to say goodbye to him, I was crossing a bridge, and I didn't make it in time, but I saw a rainbow on that bridge at 8:04 p.m. I make it to the hospital. They told me he had already transitioned, and I asked the time that he transitioned, and they said it was 8:04 p.m. And I knew that the rainbow, and ever since then, it has been our thing. Literally in this home, rainbows follow me. Rainbows follow me everywhere. And that's my symbol that I know he's following me. And so this particular painting describes a trip that I took to Aruba. Me and my friends were on this lovely catamaran, and we were just, listening to Beyonce, drinking, dancing, twirling around and whatnot. And I saw everyone swimming in the water. They had their life vests on. But I told the captain, I was like, I want to jump without a life vest, which is actually my biggest fear. And he looked at me. He was like, are you sure? I didn't know how deep it was deep. I don't know exactly how deep. I didn't ask because that would have totally turned me off, right? And I said, I want to jump. And he was like, okay. He was like, can you swim? I said, yeah, a little bit. I got a pool, I can a little bit, right? So I get on the edge of this boat, and I'm just going back and forth, and I'm there for probably 7 minutes in tears, right? I'm seeing my life flash before my eyes, and my girlfriends are recording this entire moment. And I just went for it. I jumped. And on that day, I conquered my biggest fear, and I was swimming, and the universe was supporting me. I wasn't thinking about the bottom. There were fish everywhere. It was just beautiful. When I get back on the boat, there was a rainbow right there, out of nowhere. And so me conquering my biggest fear, I felt like my grandfather was with me. And that is what this painting depicts. So yeah, I love it. Finishing up in the foyer, I'm gonna take you over here to a little splurge. So we talked about that fun buffet table that I have right when you walked in, right? So this is her sister. This is her sister friend, okay? So this is a bar. We have so many cabinets in the home. I don't think this is even fit. I got a few magazines and other things in here, but we'll get around to filling this up. But I love the height of it. We also decided in the build of the home to put some lighting in the inlay, because I knew that I was gonna go on a trip and find a piece of art for this section. And for a while, for a few months, we just let it be until it hits us, you know? And I always recommend to not over define your home so prematurely in the game, just in the sake of having things done. As human beings, we like to check boxes, you know? And it's like, just let it speak to you. And so it did. But I didn't realize I already had some things that I could put in this space. The bar table is actually new, but we were in Bal Harbour in Miami in the Fendi shop in the Miami Design District. And my sales rep, she goes, I have something for you. And I'm like, what is it? What is it? She's like, it's one of a kind. There were only 10 made. And I'm just going to show it to you. No pressure. I'm just going to show it to you. But anytime you tell me that there's only 10 made, the desirability meter goes way, way up, right? So she shows me this beautiful suitcase. And it's vintage hardware, and it is to die for. I love the golden nail heads on it as well. And all the patent leather features, the details are just, it makes it pop. You have this black, and then you have this shiny black with all of this gold all over it. So I'm like, I'm gonna get it. I'm not gonna use it, but at some point it'll be really, really nice decor. So that's what it is. And this is also high-low. So this was a pretty penny. It's an investment piece, but this was like $200 at Home Goods of all places, you know? And I love a good, you'll notice all throughout the home, I have animals, there's lions, there's elephants, there's unicorns, there's a little bit of everything, because I love to design from a place of story and travel, and I love a good animal. So this elephant is just perfect here. And then I decided to take the leftover wallpaper from the foyer, put it on the back. Actually, the lines don't even match up. You don't even notice it unless you look really, really close. Do you see it? Do you see it? And it just works, and I love it, and it's so fun. My background is sales. I've sold everything from car insurance to banking products. That is my gift, right? Connecting and building relationships. But at my last job, I just could not, that itch wasn't being scratched, right? And on top of like not being fulfilled wholly, I wasn't a very good employee. Like very much, shut up. Not you agreeing with me. I mean, it was true, but like I am very much a rule breaker. I'm always ideating and wanting to improve on processes and ideas. So I'm like, it just never worked out well for me. I was fired lots of times, and it's like, girl, you need to figure yourself out. And so I did. I'm like, well, this really means that there's nothing wrong with me. I just am an entrepreneur, right? So I gave that some gas, and it kind of found me. I was commuting to work, and in the car, I heard this radio commercial that was like, hey, you can come to this trade show and set up a table and sell your things. And it's this huge, humongous trade show. So I called the number, and I was like, well, how much is it to participate? And it was like $800. And I'm like, where am I gonna get $800 from? I don't know, but I was so enamored with the idea of showing up as a business owner, I figured it out. So I sold my car that I was commuting in to buy inventory to sell. I wasn't a designer yet. And to pay the trade show fees. And so I did that show, and after I did that show, I was like, this is it. Because I had made more money in my 2-week paycheck in that one day. Yep. And also, I loved turning women around, like seeing themselves differently through style, because I would hear her say like, oh, I can't do that. That's not for me. I can't wear that. Or that necklace is so sparkly to be so close to my face. And I'm like, woman, what are you saying? You know, like what's underneath these statements, all of these self-defeating, like, you know, mental notes that you have up here that's coming out of your mouth. So I decided, and I heard it over and over in 18 different ways. So I was like, no, I became enamored with like turning her around and converting her. And I'm like, we have something here. And also I loved it. So it became my ministry, if you will, you know? And so fast forward, I was like, I'm gonna do more of this. I quit my job, booked myself out for a year and a half by running up your credit cards to pay all these trade show fees. But in the middle of planning, I found out that I was pregnant, and I ended up being pregnant with twins, and it just didn't make sense to execute my plan because who leaves their job when you're having twins, right? But there was something burning in my belly. It was just like, no, you have got to give this some energy. So I kept moving forward, had the babies, and we did this whole trade show circuit for a good while until I couldn't do it anymore. And I got the brand as far as I could independently. And that's where Keon came in, because by this point we had completely pivoted to e-commerce, digital, because I didn't want to be on the road anymore. That's exhausting. And so I'm like, dude, I need you. Like, can you please come and work over here? But he was very risk averse.
Yeah.
He's a nerd, aren't you?
I think the biggest thing for me was like I needed to kind of understand it. I wasn't born to be an entrepreneur. Like it wasn't one of those things with me. I was like, I had landed a good job. I was able to take care of the family. There was twins coming. I was like, how are we supposed to do this? You know, and by the grace of God, it all worked out. I mean, it's been an amazing journey. But I think the biggest thing for me was, and this is still today, it's a lot of, we have to, I wouldn't use the word prove, but we kind of got to show each other that we can do it and that we're serious about it. And then we're 100% back each other, you know? And I think it's one of those things where it's like, neither one of us are just a yes person. It's not just yes. It's like, show me the money. Show me how you're going to do it. What's the game plan? What's the execution? And I'm a type, I always need a plan B. So if A doesn't work, what is B, right? And so
and
back then, she don't need no plan, you know? And so back in, what was it, 2018, I still look at this picture today. I left my job. I put my box in the back of the car. They offered a buyout package for managers. And so in her mind, it was like, what's your excuse? And I was like, well, you know, I don't really have an excuse. Fast forward, came on in January 2019. I had my little computer and I went to sit up on my desk. And the accounting was like, payroll bounced. And I just was sitting there in shock, like, what did I just do? I left my job, payroll bounced. You didn't tell me all of this, right?
Nope.
She kept a lot of secrets then. And so I just went into activation mode. I was like, this is my life now. I can't go back. And they told me I couldn't come back. So everything worked out, I think, from a place of like, we connected, got to really start understanding each other, like really. It wasn't, at that moment, it wasn't about staying in our lane. It was like we had to come together to figure this out because there was no turning back, along with twins. We had an amazing support system with our family.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes the kids and I went on the road with her. You know, we had a van, we hit the road. My mom went with us. We were like this, like, but the van was dragging down on the road. We was heading to Florida, but it was like, we have to figure this out. We have to do it. And so for me, all of those moments was like God telling us, like, you have to do the work. Like there's no just, you just don't become this person overnight, you know. We put in the work. We're still putting in the work.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing's changed.
No, I mean, we're still working differently, but just as hard as we first got started.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I feel.
Absolutely.
And so like fast forward today, it's a, Sassy Jones is rapidly growing. 2 years ago, we were ranked number 24 in Inc. 5000. And the fun fact is that we are self-funded. We have 0 investors. Like, I don't even know how to pitch this brand. So it is homegrown, cash run. And we're very, very, very proud of that, and 100% Black owned. So next, I'd love to show you guys our living room, but we call it the Bing room. Follow me. Can you feel it? Like, can you feel it? It feels so good to be in this space. So this is traditionally what one would call a living room, but we call it the being room because this is where we just come to be. There's no technology. It's seating that is intentionally facing one another. The seating arrangement is very much conversational, and it was very much intentional to design it that way. And so in this space, I'm proud of so many things. First and foremost, I decided to use a lot of Black artisans' work, right? So let's point out this gorgeous, gorgeous bodice. So this sculpture was done by a Black artist, and I love the work because of the big old earrings, right? And the big old dreadlocks that are just thrown on the top of her head. It's very eclectic and it's very me. Also, when you're seated, it's a piece that you just can't miss. But interestingly enough, it doesn't block a view based on where you're seated if you want to talk to someone across the room. Now, these chairs are so special to me. I was on a trip in Nairobi. And I was just going to this little gift shop. It was after my 40th birthday and didn't think anything of it. You know, I was going in the gift shop. I thought I was going to buy a keychain and a shot glass, right? And so I get in the place and there are these chairs just screaming at me. And I wasn't checking for them at all. And I get a little closer and I'm like, wait a second, is this beaded? And I'm like, yes. This is wholly beaded. And I sit in it and I'm like, wait a second, is this actually comfortable? And I'm like, yes, it's actually comfortable. I gotta have it. How can we get it? Can I put it on a plane? Right? What can I do, right? And so I'm talking to the owner of the shop. He's like, well, we can ship it to you. And so we go back and forth and I'm like, well, how long is it gonna take me to get it? Long story short, I had no idea what I was gonna do with these chairs, but I knew I fell in love with them and they are perfect for this space. I design a lot based on travel. I was in Bal Harbor as well in Miami and in the St. Regis Hotel, if you've ever stayed, you know when you walk in, the entire foyer is nothing but beveled mirrors. Every single angle you're covered, right? And I just remember being there, taking so many selfies. It's just a very much Instagrammable hotel. And so we had this luxurious fireplace built and the entire space feels like a lot of industrial glam. So you'll see glamour, but the fireplace is actually matte. So I wanted something very glamorous to offset it. And so I was thinking, we went through so many different iterations. At one point we were gonna do wallpaper. At another point we were gonna do soft gold. Like it just kept going round and around. And it wasn't until the last minute, it was like months before we moved in. I said, you know what, I got it. We're gonna pay homage to the St. Regis Hotel. So I got these mirrors fabricated, and essentially what they are is just a lot of little different rectangles and squares. So it gives a lot of interest from ceiling all the way to the floor. And when they were installed, I was drooling, because it is just showpiece and it's like jewelry for the wall, you know? And so I love it, and you can't take your eyes off of it, and I love it that way. Now, let's take your eyes up, right? So this chandelier, her name is Amina. I designed a jewelry collection that is nothing but golden strands of necklace and robes, different gauges of chain, cascading around the neck, and this is exactly what this chandelier represents. I wanted to go a larger scale because I started out super small with the size at first, but we wanted to like drop it all the way down to, you could almost touch it, right? This ignorantly oversized chandelier. And it's such a conversation piece when you're in the area. So many different things are, but I don't worry about how things will flow. It's just, you know, whether I like it or love it or not. And it just so happens to just connect beautifully together. If you think about all the funk and the troho and the tribal and the flair of the home, like having a tufted rolled arm couch is so not even what you're checking for, right? It's just so very unexpected. But that is the blend. You'll have modern, you'll have sharp edges, but you'll also have like round as well. And so with the couch, I decided to go classic, but then we're gonna throw some funk on it with these pillows. So I found these online, and this is a good old Perigold pillow, and I decided to do it with a black and white Safavea pillow. And we just wanted a party on the chair. You ever want a party on the chair, you know? And so it's all different colors. You got blues, you got pinks, you got greens, but they all just celebrate one another and they make you feel so cozy when you sit down. So it's the color story for me. These glasses, another example of high-low, I actually found these at Home Goods, right? And they're just very textured, very Iris Apfel kind of glasses. But I decided to put them on an open-faced book. It's really important to me to have the coffee book tables wide open. And I wanted to turn it to a page that when you came into this room, you were inspired if you just happened to be glancing over here to the book. So I wanted to turn it to a page that says, do you. It says, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Ralph Waldo Emerson. So I feel like doing you is the mantra of the home, right? It doesn't have to feel like the next home. It doesn't have to feel like your old home. It just has to feel like you in your current state. And the more that we embrace that, the better it turns out.
So we met 18 years ago in Hampton, Virginia, at work. I seen a beautiful, amazing, talented young lady at the call center. We worked in a call center. And we ended up going to a work event, and she just so happened to be at the work event. I was like, well, here's my chance, you know, let me go and speak, let me go and say something. But there was that moment of, I was like, well, what are we going to talk about? And so we had a history of, we both did a little bit of modeling. That was, you know, years ago for me. And that was my conversation moment, because I know she did it as well. And so we hit it off, we started talking. And when I left with one of my coworkers, the big thing for me was, I was like, and I was 22, I was like, this is my wife. Like, I just knew. And so, you know, she might have a different story, but from there, everything just turned out to be amazing.
No, I have the exact same story. Just like some backstory, like from my perspective. So he's right. He's 1,000% right. We're working at Nestled, and he had already been working there, and I was a new hire. And he would always come around my cubicle smiling and skinning and grinning, whatever. He was coming around my cubicle. I ain't know nobody that had to pee that much in my whole life, right? So I'm like, who is this light-skinned dude, like just walking back and forth up the hallway? I mean, smiling like a chef. No, legit. And I'm like, man, this dude smile a lot, right? So I'm like, I noticed you. And then that night of the party, I didn't want to go to that party. I was not going to go to that party. My friend dragged me out of the house kicking and screaming. I don't even think I put on anything worth being seen in, right? And so, but I went. And yeah, so this same light-skinned cheesing dude comes over, and I'm like, oh, that's that guy. That's the same guy, right? But when we started to have a conversation, I fell in love with our friendship first. Yeah. Right? That's what it was. It was very relatable, very safe, and it just felt very connected instantly without effort. Very, effortless. And so that is how we met, and the rest is history. And yeah, that was 18 years ago.
18 years ago.
Yeah. And we've been married for, this year will be 14 years.
Yeah.
As you can see, it's a very open space. There's not a lot of walls in here, and we wanted it to feel just airy. And so I'm going to take you into the next area of the home, which is the dining room and the kitchen. So this is our gathering spot, all right? And so it was really important to me to have a table that took up the entire width of the dining room area, to be able to have the patio doors you can just easily eat outside if you wanted to. But just to talk a little bit about the design of this table, it was really fun for me to have something in the space where there was a story, right? And so we have this jewelry collection named Kai, and it's essentially parrots, right? And so wanted to do the chandelier with these beautiful birds just perched on a branch, if you will, which is very soft gold matte. And so if you come down here, it's not too many times you're going to see a golden brass table, but if you look very closely, you'll notice that it is a tree trunk essentially, and you'll see the textured striations all along the surface of the table while you're eating. So it's very sensory, very textured, but very beautiful. And believe it or not, it's very easy to keep clean. Now, as you know, I have 8-year-old twin boys, and they are all boy, right? So when it came to the chairs, I wanted to have something, a texture that was very easy to clean. And so we ended up going with this lovely microfiber that it looks a lot like velvet. And I can just take a rag, like if they spill something, I could take a rag and just easily wipe it up. So even though it looks very, very glamorous, it's hella functional. So in any home, it's important for the spaces to flow from room to room. Like there has to be some sort of aesthetic that ties the entire puzzle together. And so it is my belief that the dining room table, with it being this brass gold, definitely brings your eye up to the brass hood. And so let's go into another favorite part of the home, the kitchen. I love it here. I just do. There's so many intentional decisions in this place. So it just immediately evokes joy. It immediately evokes conversation and connection in this place. So very intentional to not do bar stools in here, right? We went round and around, back and forth, and we had this humongous slab of Dalmata marble. But I was like, do I want bar stools, do I not? And the answer for me was no. I like to stand around a bar, even if we have a nice spread. It's lovely to be able to just go on around this and then properly be seated at the dining room table. Another big decision for us in this space, especially when we were picking out stone for it, is whether to go quartz or whether to go marble. And if you're renovating or moving into a home or building a new home, you know that's always a big conversation. And because of my lifestyle, you know, I'm an entrepreneur, very busy. I've got 2 rambunctious boys. It was very much advised to me to go quartz, go quartz. You gotta go quartz. You're gonna regret it 2 years later, right? And I'm like, I like what I like, and I'm probably the wrong person to like talk out of something because it's only gonna make me more curious about it. So here's how that conversation went. I was like, no, I don't want to do quartz because I couldn't find a striation or a surface material that I was really attracted to. But this kept calling my name. Like in the stone shop, it just kept calling my name. They only had maybe 2 slabs of this, so we had to import the rest of it from Italy. It came in damaged, so we had to re-import again. It came in short. And then we had to, I think they found 1 additional slab that we needed in Texas somewhere. And then ended up putting it together, and it just works so beautiful, like tapestry in this room. So this is a Dalmata oversized marble. It's beautiful because I was super okay with the abstract nature of it all. I didn't need to connect seams, and I didn't need to make sure that, you know, this one edged up with this one. I was so okay with letting nature be natural nature. So on this side, and it turned out so beautifully when you just let it be, right? So on this side, you have this lovely, deep, dark, almost like thunderstorm, if you will, of marble. But over here, it's super gray and white. And if you look super close, you can see a little bit of green, a little bit of speck of brown. And it's just so, like I could lick it. If I could, I love it just that much. Now, the wall. We took the Dalmata marble up the wall on the backsplash and decided to decorate it with jewelry, which is this lovely oversized brass hood. Now this hood was custom and it took forever, and it took so much forever that I was getting frustrated because there's always like that moment in the home building process. And so I'm like, why is this taking so long? So the builder was like, it's custom, it takes a while. And I'm like, I could order one off the internet and it'll be here next week. Like, is it gonna be there by the time we move in? The week before we moved in, it got installed and I was like, I'm so glad I waited. It just takes time. Another thing that I love is the stove in here. So this is a La Cornue. And it is my very first La Cornue, and actually it's my very first gas stove, believe it or not. Nothing cooks like this bad boy. It has a double-sided oven, an electric side and a gas side. And I just love it. A lot of good, fun times here. Now, I am not a baker. I'm a cooker, right? I love a good catfish. I love a good spare rib. I love a good T-bone too, right? And so that is the fun that happens in this space. I'm gonna take you around to the refrigerator. So this is actually one of 3 kitchens in this home. So this is the first, and this is my kitchen, right? This is the adult kitchen. The kids don't come in here, they have their own because we want Capri Suns, Nutri-Grain bars, and all of the snacks to stay away, okay? And that's part of how I end up keeping it clean. But this fridge houses all of the adult things, but I love it because it looks like cabinetry. And then we have this lovely textured hardware going down the front of it. Now, I love to watch other people's homes. I was watching a YouTube of Gwyneth Paltrow's home. Fell in love. She had this marble bar in her kitchen. And I was like, if we have any leftover marble slabs, we're gonna make a bar, right? And so we did. So this particular piece I love, and I actually use it as a tea station. All right, I love tea. I'm a good drinker. I love a good Kenyan tea, a good hibiscus tea. I'm so into green tea. I also love Korean ginseng. And so every morning when I wake up, I'm just over here. I just turn on my kettle and I just sit in my sitting area and just be. And then above, we'll have all of the crystalware and this lovely custom shelf, right? So this was done through a local company, a small business in New York. And speaking to the industrial glamour of it all, you have this pipe looking, exposed hardware, but it's complemented by this lovely thick gauged glass, and it just sets it off just real good, real good. So a word about the florals. I'm a busy girl, okay? I ain't keeping nothing alive in this house other than my children, my husband, and myself, right? So any kind of greenery in here, even the oversized palms that you see in here, the 9 and 10 foot palms, they are all faux. They're all silk and good and faux. I ain't watering nothing, all right? So these orchids in the corner, I found these at a local shop. And when I saw them, I was like, they're black and white. I love to have a good floral in the kitchen because it just speaks family, it just speaks soft and feminine. And so place them on each side and they just landed perfectly. But yeah, it's gonna be faux for me. So in the kitchen, it's a bit opposite. This is our serenity for our family, right? And so I wanted to give just a nice black and white color story so that the food can pop. The color comes in from what's being served on the table, the greens and the oranges and the yellows, right? That was more so the design decision around going really clean in here. Also, I grew up with grandparents that kept the counters cluttered. There, you know, we had our cookie jar, we had the sugar jar, we had everything, the blender, everything lived on the top of the counter. And so for me in this space, I wanted to breathe, you know, I wanted it to be open. So we don't keep on any day, there are not any appliances. They're all in the drawer. We don't like to keep them on top. So it's just, you know, it makes you feel decluttered. And because we have such a busy go, go, go lifestyle, like when we come in here, we feel grounded, right? There are not a lot of distractions in this place because when we cook, we're chopping and there's so many things everywhere. So we just wanted to keep it clean and crisp. Having a large home, it can be difficult, but you know, making a 12,000 square foot home cozy, I don't think comes from things. I think 50% of it is things, decor, furniture, all of that. I think the other 50% is energy and love and feels and the emotions and the experiences that you have in the home that literally people can feel when they walk through the door. So I think it's like the feng shui of it all, you know? So I'm a huge believer in it's not just about things. So for us, it's like, it's a little bit of both. Do you agree?
I agree. I think the big thing for me is we have what they call a piano speaker. We had it playing earlier. And we're a big family on music. We literally dance around this entire house, including the twins. And every morning, whoever gets downstairs first cuts the music on. Every evening there's music, even when the kids are getting tutoring. If we're in the shower, they have their own speakers in the bathrooms. We are huge on music. And so for us, it's no matter where we are in this house, there's music on. And I think it's a complete vibe.
Yeah, it's like the soundtrack to our vibe.
Yeah, and so you'll never walk in this house and there's not music on. We're a dancing family. We're always doing dance competitions. We'll land anywhere. We'll have full-blown conversations in the kitchen with the kids. We might be at the piano. The kids are trying to, I don't know what they're doing. They're making tunes, I guess. We might land in here and cut the fireplace on. We might even be sitting on the steps. It's like we kind of just flow. My feet be hurting, but we be flowing because it's a lot of walking.
Yeah,
so,
that's the other thing too.
Yeah.
A home, so our last home was
3,000
square foot, right? And when we moved in this home, there were certain things that you just don't anticipate coming from like a very beautiful 3,000 square foot home to something like this. Case in point, your feet.
Your feet.
Okay? And so I'm like, this is a lot of walking. I don't even have to like go to the gym anymore because like all these steps and things. And then the bottom of my feet, because this is all hardwood, the bottom of my feet started to call because I'm just used to, we came from a home with carpet.
Yep.
And so I'm just used to walking around and being super plush, and then you get in something like this going from east to west, and it's like where these calluses coming from? And so now we walk around with slippers all day. There's slippers everywhere. Like when we do the tour, you'll probably see slippers in every single corner, just because of just the trekking required. So that's something that I didn't even like check for. And then like a month after being, I'm like, I'm tired. Why am I so tired?
I'm still tired.
You know, like I'm packing boxes, but why am I tired? Like, girl, you're walking up and down everywhere, you know? So those are just, and I wouldn't change it for the world, but those are just some of the differences that we noticed.
Yeah, we do a lot of yelling on different floors or calling or texting each other because I'm like, cut the outside lights off. By the time I get upstairs to that bed, and I'm the type, I have to go to every door. So I'm going to every door to make sure it's locked because if someone comes in, I'm not going to hear them.
Regardless of technology.
It doesn't matter. So I have my Amazon slippers on and I'm going from door to door to make sure it's locked that night. And I forget one light and I'm like, I can't do it. Because if I go back downstairs, I can't get back up. It's a lot. And even with the elevator, there's a little bit of fear. I got stuck on the elevator the other day.
One time and he won't get back on it.
So I'll get on if someone's here, but I'm not getting on by myself. And so it's a lot of walking. Like it's a lot of walking.
Yeah, if you leave your cell phone somewhere, it's just left.
Yeah.
Like you leave your keys.
Yeah.
Drive another car.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's different for us, right? And we're still adjusting. It's been almost a year.
Yeah.
And we learn something new. I feel like every day. It's like We have what, 3 refrigerators?
Yeah.
So we put water and stuff in each refrigerator to make sure, like, if we're down there, it's like you might stay thirsty by the time you try to get back to this refrigerator. So it's like, it's different. We're adjusting every day. Yeah.
Facts. Okay, are you guys in for a treat? The jewel of the home, in my opinion. Keon might tell you differently, but it is my 3-story closet. So get your calves ready, put your walking shoes on, and let's get ready. We're gonna start on level 1, which is the basement level. Wanna go? Follow me. Here we are. So, welcome to my 3-story closet. So, this is the very first level that I love to call the shoe department. This level is the area where I keep all of my shoes, and every decision about this closet was incredibly intentional. So along with the shoes, this is, I know you're gonna laugh at this term, but quote unquote storage, okay? So follow me. This is the area where all of my unseasonable items are. The things that I don't touch a whole lot in terms of the clothing, the handbags that I don't touch a whole lot, like some of the hats and things that I just don't use every day. This is that level for that, all right? So I'll take you around, just give you a little tour of all of the things. So as you can see, the theme of gold just sprawls throughout the entire home, all right? I wanted to go with a very mixed sort of metal texture. So we have a very shiny brass on the hardware here, and then we have a very flat matte gold on the staircase. This particular section of the shoes, this is like the comfy section, right? So the flats, the slides, the things that I find myself wearing on the daily. And just to give you like a little fan fave, right? So something like this is so me, right? I am that mismatch pattern patching mixed print kind of woman. So I love these, and these are so comfy too. Another fan fave, I have a real bad thing for Bottegas, all right? So I love these slides. I have these slides in 3 different colors and also a few heels as well. But this, I try to organize it by like my practical things, right? And then I ran out of space for heels, so there's some heels down here. But for the most part, it's all like, 3 inches and lower on the heel. So follow me to my most favorite section of my shoe department, my sneaks. So as you can see, I'm surprised that I only have 1 shelf of them, but you know what? It works. It works because I love sneakers that much, right? So fun fact, my husband picks out a lot of my sneakers. Almost, I'd say over 60% of the sneakers that I own, he like spotted, all right? And so including the ones that I have on right now. These are a good Jimmy Choo, and they're hand done, all in crystal, and they are they're comfy, but they heavy. They got a nice sound to them. But I love everything from Adidas, some good Gazelles to a Dolce & Gabbana, Balenciaga. I just love sneakers because they're so comfy. And like for me, where I am in my life right now, it's about being present and comfortable. It's definitely comfort over everything. So love a good sneaker for that. Honey, I'll put it on with a dress, anything. Now, this section over here, so this is kind of like the date night heel, right? These are like 3 inches and taller. These don't get a whole lot of play at all. I'm not the kind of woman I am. I'm not walking around in this every day, okay? I understand it's cute on Instagram or whatnot, but you can catch me in a sneaker and I'm gonna be comfortable, right? But I got a little bit of Louboutin, D&G, a little booty, a little Aquazora, just a little bit of everything over here. I also down here like to mix my handbags in with my things so that, it's presented well. A Sassy Jones bag from back in the day. Even though I'm a designer, I don't only wear my own stuff. That's like a musician only listening to their own music. You know, I'm a friend of fashion. I'm a girl of fashion. I love a little bit of everything. So got Louis, and it just works all together. On this side of the closet is where all of the chunky combat boots are, all right? So got little black Gucci chunky. These are really, really cool. My rain boots over here. And then I have handbags, you know, all throughout. And then another open coffee table book. And then I got some boots hanging. Now, y'all, I love to keep the boots hanging with forms on the inside of them. I'll show you what I mean, all right? So I'll take, we'll take these. Cute old hot pink booties. Y'all get these off of Amazon, okay? They are something like $14.99. You can get a pack of them. And they can actually, if you're running out of floor space, hang your shoes or your tall boots in like a hallway closet if you have the space for it. I love it because when you put the forms inside of them, it prevents them from like slouching over, which degrades the quality of the ankle over time. So it's really good to like keep them formed. And then it's also really good to keep them hanging. I just love the way that it looks. Yeah, so girl, hang your shoes up too. You want to know another thing you should hang up? If you can, your purses. Let me show you. All right, so this is a purse that I designed by the name of Dina, and it's this very fringe, fun with chain hobo. All right, but instead of like laying it down, take a regular clothing hanger, take it by the long strap, and just tuck it over the strap and hang it up, you know? And so it displays very beautifully, but also it prevents you from forgetting about the things that you invested in, right? When they're displayed well. So next, I'm gonna take you in the rotunda. So technically, we are underground right now, right? I remember building this home and the basement, oh my God. The basement took, I want to say like 50% of the time of the home build process, they was down here digging and it had to get water out. It took forever, right? You can see the pain on my face, right? So if there's ever a tornado or a hurricane, we coming in this room. We are super, super safe. So this is the rotunda area of my level 1 of my closet. And in this area, these are things that I don't necessarily touch every day, but I still want to display them beautifully. So I have this really nice console in the middle, this island. And here is where I keep all of my travel pieces. So these are some pieces from Masai Mara that the tribesmen made there, and all kinds of leathers and yummy things. And there's even some things that I've designed down on the bottom. And I just love the space because it gives me museum, you know, like it gives me artifact. But I also display these necklaces throughout the home as wall art too. So make your things work for you in every which way. This is the first level. We have so much more to see, guys. So we're gonna head on up to level 2, which is my office and also the accessory level. Let's go. Here we are on the second level. This is also the main level of my home. So the closet was designed very intentionally because my garage is on the other side of this wall. So when I am heading out the door, my accessories are the last thing that I put on. They're the frosting to my cake, the finishing touch. So it just makes sense. Before I head out, I throw on a statement necklace or some earrings and then hop in my car. So this is the wall of necklaces. I do not keep everything that I design because I design for others, right? But the pieces that are super important and special to me are all displayed beautifully here. And they all have names, as a matter of fact. And our Sassy Nation, our customers globally, they know the names and refer to them by the names. And also get dressed based on how they want to feel because of the name, right? So for example, I'll start here. So her name, this is Fairy Dust, right? And this collection was inspired by a book that my mom gave me a while ago that talked about the differences between horses and unicorns. It's actually a children's book, right? And it talked about how horses are mean and they hoof around and they look sad all the time, but unicorns are happy to be around one another. They're celebratory. They use their horns proudly, and they're happy to give compliments. They throw confetti and all, right? They share love. And when I thought about what I wanted this collection to feel like, it's spreading a little bit of love and fairy dust all over the place. So we have a string of hearts and a beautiful soft gold. Also, what's important to me, because I design statement jewelry, but it has to be functional, right? It has to be light and easy to wear. Like, you don't want to just take it off and throw it across the room. So I'll take this off. And it's super malleable, adjustable, very light. I also like to work with screws instead of O-rings, just for the longevity of the piece. And I like to play with different metals. So this is a very feminine soft gold with a beautiful touch of matte rhinestones on the back. And that feature is special to you, because if you have long hair, no one will know that your stones are there unless you put your hair up on top of your head. So there's that. Let's look up here. So her name is Origami. I designed her in COVID. And you see me referring to it as like a person, but that's what we call our pieces in Sassy Nation. So she was created based on how I was feeling, right? During COVID, there was a lot of ambivalence. Everyone, especially me, emotions were all over the place, didn't know if the business was gonna make it, wasn't gonna make it. And I just felt very abstract, like my thoughts weren't clear. And so I created this piece that is sort of this abstract story and this oversized pendant, because that's how huge the emotions were inside of me. But there was a glimmer of hope when you just look around, right? And the glimmer of hope is represented by the rhinestones, like going down, and you have all this beautiful sparkle that just represents light at the end of the tunnel. And so, Origami, I'll take you down just so that you can see everything. I love to use natural stones, and I'm big on chakras and natural beads and all of that. So you got your malachites, your oriental agates, lots of different agate slices, especially within our energy collection. So that is fun. Functionality is a huge thing. One of the most favorite collections or prototypes for me to create are our brooch necklaces, all right? So something like this, you'll see with butterflies nested all around the neck. It's just kind of like this ethereal fairyland showpiece, right? And so, but these butterflies are removable. They're actually brooches. So our customers take them off, wear the necklace without any brooches on it, pin the brooches on their blazers, and eat it up. And so we're so here for it all. We're so here for it all. My creation aesthetic is very IDGAF, right? So I create the things for the unicorn, for the woman who cannot find what she's looking for. You can go to all these other stores and buy yourself a soft gold necklace, honey. You can get that anywhere, right? You can go to all these other stores and find a little silver pendant, child. If that's what you want, wear it proudly, right? But where is the place where the unicorns come to play? Where do they shop? The ones who don't want to look like everyone else. That is what Sassy Jones is. So yeah, here we are. All right, so there's that. And then just a whole host. I'll tell you, our best-selling collection of all time historically is this collection named Malia. And this is a very simply designed necklace if you think about it, but it is a whole lot of AB beads, right? Iridescent beads all coming together. And the fun thing about it that our customers love is that the strands of the actual necklace, as with all of our layered necklace, they're detachable, right? So if you want just 4 strands, just wear 4 strands. You don't have to wear the rest of it, right? And so it becomes so many different necklaces in one, and we love that versatility. This little pit stop here, this is the second island in my closet. The first was downstairs. Islands are very important to me because I like to lay my things out when I'm getting dressed to see what options I have. Also just to display them. I got watches, I got brooches, some of everything. And this, very important. So this little tray here, I have all kinds of stuff in it, but it has additional earring backs. additional jewelry hooks, like whatever I need. This is kind of like my supplies tray, you know, so that's sitting right here. And just a lovely faux floral arrangement. It looks kind of real. It actually looks really real, but I am ordering it and it's gonna last me a lifetime. So here we have it. Spray it with some perfume and keep it moving. Ooh, here we are. So, all right. This is the top floor. You made it to the penthouse of my 3-story closet. Now, listen, you got to have there is an elevator in the home. My quads are so good, my calves and everything from walking up and down the steps. And when I'm getting dressed for me, because the closet is vast, it's all about preparation. So remember when we were coming up for school, you had to pick your clothes out the night before? As an adult woman, I still do that, right? And so I make sure that I have my shoes and my clothes and everything. All the decisions are made in advance because I like to have a slow morning. I like to ease into my day. So I like to prepare as much as possible. And so in this space, this is on my bedroom level. And these are my everyday clothes. So these are the things that I wear all the time. The bag that I use every day. And it's all organized by length, right? So you have some longer silhouettes over here. I love, this is a gift that I bought for myself when we're almost done building the home. This is a Notori caftan. And I told myself that the first year in the home, or the first New Year's Eve that we spend here, I was gonna wear this for the first time, and I did. And I was so excited to put it on, but it's all about, you know, the risk and the reward. So longer silhouettes on this side. Right here, I have some pants and skirts, more dresses and jumpsuits. As you can see, there's way more clothes up here than it is on the first level. This is where my jeans and my slacks and all of my everyday things are, right? Stuff that I wear to work, play, all of that. This is a collection, my most favorite collection of handbags that Sassy Jones creates. We do have an entire in-house design team as well. And we have an artist that paints all of these handbags. Girl, yes. So I love this because it's literally walking art. I've got some shirts and blazers. Everything is so colorful because most of it is Sassy Jones, but I have a lot of other things mixed up in here too. This is the best section of the closet because this is like the most comfy section of the closet. This is where my joggers are. Y'all lucky I didn't put on a jogger for y'all today, but this is like my athleisure wear, and I try to condense space by hanging the pants on the hanger with the jacket. That way when I'm getting dressed, it's not a lot of time. You know, I don't have time to be like toying around. So I just get it, grab it, put it on. Everything's compact and quick and easy, right? And so I love this area. It's so comfy, so comfy. Another thing that I love, this is my meditation couch. So when I wake up, first thing in the morning, I meditate and pray. And that happens right here on this couch. I don't even turn the lights on. As soon as I get out of the bed, I run to the couch. It's like I cannot wait to thank God for the day, right? And so I journal here, I study here, I meditate here, and it's so much so that it's probably in my head, but this is real. If I do not sit on this couch and meditate before I start my day, it's not a good day. Like, and people know it. Like, did you meditate today? Like, no, I missed it this morning. It's that obvious. So I have to get that, you know, I have to have that connected spirituality for me. And it just helps my clock tick. Child, please. So working together, honestly, I'm going to be so raw with you. Like, this is just, you could pick the wrong couple to give you frou-frou, right? I don't recommend it, right? It is the hardest thing that you will ever do in a marriage. I do not believe that everyday couples just should be running businesses together, right? Let me just give you that disclaimer just in case you were wondering, okay? However, if you can figure this out, you can do anything.
Agreed.
You can do anything, right? So what I mean by that is when I asked him to come over and help me with the business, this was my baby, right? It's something that I birthed, created, grown with the support of a village, including him, number one supporter. But it was still mine. So when he came over, I was like, we not listening to you? You ain't got no skin in the game? You want with me shooting in the gym? What do you know about jewelry? You know what I mean? What do you know about entrepreneurship, right? Just completely contradicting myself for what I asked of him. And once I realized that, like, how am I bring you over here and then not let you make any decisions because of my selfishness and ego, essentially, right? And that's when I also started to grow in my leadership. Right? It's like, if you want to build a team, if you want to have people and grow this thing beyond you, little girl, like, you're going to have to learn how to let go. And through growing myself, I learned how to release. And the more I release, that's a whole word in and of itself, for a whole nother YouTube episode, right? But the more that I released, I was rewarded for releasing, right? And I got to see how he operated in his whole gift. And also, I needed to trust more, right? And so for me, if you do work together, here are my tips for you. I think it's really important to, have trust straight away, right?
Absolutely.
Know that the other person is making decisions for your good. It comes from a place of love, and there's no need to create any tension in a place where there is none, right? So that's the first thing. I would say the second thing is to have some real boundaries, right? You have to have real boundaries with yourself and also boundaries for the other person. And number three, because we're always around one another, we life together, we parent together, we love together,
Everything.
we business together, it can all get like a blurred line. But the number three tip is that you need to have meetings. Just like you do with your staff, even though he's my spouse, we have to sit down and have actual business meetings.
Absolutely.
It can't just always happen on the fly at the dinner table, or, like, it needs to be formal. You have to protect that part of the relationship. So yeah, that's my take. What's yours?
A little bit different. I think that we look at it a little bit different, which is why it works, right? And so for me, I feel like it definitely can work. I would encourage it. If you don't already have that trust factor in your relationship, if you don't already want each other to win, right? And so me coming into it, it was like, I personally felt like I got the dream job, right? I didn't go to college, but I got an amazing job in marketing, did very well for myself. And it was an opportunity to just be part of her dream, right? And then create the dream together, right? And so for me, there was no ego. I'm not that type of guy anyway. There was no ego. It was like, if she wins, we win, right? I just knew at that moment, like, I couldn't just be a yes guy. Like, I couldn't just say, yes, you're right, because I didn't have any entrepreneur experience. I knew right out the gate, the number one thing I needed to do was focus on the finances, which for me wasn't hard. I mean, I managed our personal finances, but when it came to business, it was definitely a lot different. You're talking to bankers, you got to make payroll, you're just doing things differently. And so we had a little bit of, I would call it business friends that really gave us some amazing advice. A lot of what I learned came from Google, I'll be honest with you. No degree in that either. And so I think the biggest thing for me was just really taking a step back, looking at the overall big picture, and then what our goals were. The thing I learned the most was, and still today is, my goal is to continue to lift her up, right? This is her dream. She's the face of the brand. And she knows this, like, I don't need to be on camera. I prefer not to be on camera. I run from the camera, so you might see the back of me disappearing. But I'm super proud of her, right? And I will always support her no matter what. And we will always figure it out, right? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if you have that in your relationship, yes, come together, thrive, right? But you have to put your egos to the side. You have to put your own personal gains to the side, mm-hmm. and you have to win together. You cannot win separately.
Yeah. Like, what is that?
No,
yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. Not in our world, at least.
Yeah.
Like, so true. So that concludes the tour of the 3-story closet. So we're on the top level, and I'm gonna take you into our main bathroom. So Want to see it? Let's go. It's all gold. We're going for the gold. Come on. So here we are, the main bathroom. So the tub area is a wet room. We were in, I want to say it was Virgin Islands, and that was my first time experiencing a wet room where the tub is actually inside of the shower. I fell in love. I am a soaker. I love to sit and soak, and every once in a while, you know, the water splashes over and it's just less anxious to worry about making a mess. So we have it in here, but also in here, it is pure art, right? So we have this lovely egged porcelain tub, and we have all of this gold happening. So we decided to go with a black tile, wide plank tile on the floor. And when the water is on, it actually shines because of the facets that are cut inside of the tiles. So it gives like this really nice radiance, and it blends so beautifully with the oversized gold tile. It is everything. The texture is beautiful, and I just fell in love. Now, it was a conscious decision to actually go with gold grout as well, so that you don't see white in between here, so that it just blends. It looks like one cohesive story. We decided to do double heads on each side. We call it the car wash with the sprays here, and I just love our shower. It's open, there's not a door. We have this oversized glass pane here with this very thoughtful gold hardware holding it in place. And so it is lovely. This is our first time sharing a shower with two heads in it. And I gotta say, I get dressed faster. I don't have to wait my turn. It's just good for the morning. Now on this side here, there's a spa that I love to visit in Charlottesville. If you ever come to Virginia, make sure that you take a stop in Charlottesville. It's about 40 minutes away from this home, and it's where all the lovely wineries are in Charlottesville. And there's beautiful rolling mountains, and the homes are just gorgeous. It's a good Sunday drive. But there's a spa there by the name of Keswick that I adore. That's where I get my hydrofacials done sometime. And they had this warming rack. And I had never come across one. My first visit, I'm like, so what is this thing? So I touch it and it's all warm because they had my robe hanging on it. And I'm like, committed to memory. In my next space, I want a towel rack. I want a towel warmer. So I put all the towels on here. I hang my robe on it. So when I put it on, it's just all warm and cozy because it's all about the feels, right? Now, I'll take you to the counter space. So I wanted to go with a deep color story on the countertop, okay? So this stone, we decided to trough on the sink, and this actual cabinetry is a bedroom dresser, believe it or not. So this is a restoration hardware dresser that we sort of gutted, took the top off, put a countertop on the top, and troughed the sink. No one would ever know that this is a dresser, like legit. It's for your clothes, but it works. And because I couldn't find cabinetry that I wanted. I'm not gonna, in this space, I didn't want to do super basic cabinetry. So we went with this, and I fell in love with the hardware, which is why we went so crazy here. And then it's more sensible on the mirror. This mirror was clearly from Amazon. Yeah, Amazon special, oversized, lit, and it works perfectly for my family. All right, and let me show you the bedroom next. Let's go. Well, here we are in the main bedroom. So this is also a technology-free zone, all right? This is another area where we just like to decompress and just exist and be. So my most treasured piece in this entire room is the fireplace. So this is a Brazilian jasper that we had imported, and it's an electric fireplace, but we wanted to go super jazzy, and you can see all kinds of striations of green, and depending on the lighting, blue, and it just tells this very earthy story of serenity. And so I had to have it, and here we are. It's It's just warm to the touch. And jasper is it's a stone that's known for calming, right? To put you at peace and at ease, and so you can get super grounded. So the color green is really a theme throughout the main bedroom. We had these cabinets custom built in, and we use the same hardware that you find in the kitchen for the pools. And so this is really important just so that we can display, some little decor, some perfumes, my catch-all, and just some books for reading. The aesthetic in here is very clean. You don't see a lot of things on the wall. There's a lot of reflective pieces like mirrors here and mirrors on each side of the bed. But the bed is really a clean showpiece. So it is a floor to ceiling custom headboard. And we decided to go with a sleep number. If you ever are in the mattress market, get yourself a sleep number. Remember I talked about the towel rack, the towel warmer? I love a good warm, and my husband loves a good cool. So he will adjust his. It's just an app on your cell phone. He'll adjust his side, the temperature. But I love, before I get into bed, like one of my bedtime rituals is just to make myself a cup of tea. I'll go on my app, I'll warm my bed, warm the torso and the foot area. So by the time I get in the bed, I'm toasty and cooking. And that is just the way that I love it. And so the mattress also adjusts for height. So when my husband snores at night, I can get on my phone in the middle of the night and tilt his head up, and then I can go back to sleep because he stopped snoring. This couch, purple is a friend of green. So I decided to sit the couch on this beautiful tapestry of, it's not floral, but it gives a little Monet of floral, this rug. And I felt a purple couch was just the right finishing touch. And it has a little bit of fringe along the edge and this really nice microfiber velvet look to it. So it's super plush, super comfy. But if you look up, it is met with this lovely chandelier of amethyst agate slices. So there's a lot of natural stone at every turn in this room. Now, I always say one of my favorite, but I love a good, I love natural light to let it all in, and you just feel so rejuvenated by the sun. It's important, natural light in our new home. And so we have a balcony. I'll take you over. Okay, so ta-da! Welcome to the balcony off of our main bedroom. So this area is such a vibe, right? So we'll come out here, we'll chill in the evenings, have a glass of wine, and it's all weather, right? So there are heaters in the ceiling for the winter. There's a fan for the summer, but also these are phantom shades. These are phantom blinds. So with just the click of a button, we can raise the phantom blinds. And these are actually, the plastic is what they use on yachts to protect the boat, from the elements. And so it's very durable, very thick. So we feel super warm when we're in here. Just turn on the heaters in the wintertime, and it is just a vibe. The view is also very serene and peaceful. We're backed up against the woods, so we don't share a view with any neighbors or anything. That when I first moved in, you're getting comfortable with the home. It can be super spooky because it's like, oh, it's all woods back there. But now it just feels, very inviting, if you will. The more we've settled in and gotten used to the home. So I can say it's truly home now. But it's been a while. Where is my husband? Let's go find him. Come on.
For me, home is peace. I live every day, and everything that I do, every decision I make, I have to have peace. And so the biggest thing when we even chose this lot and built this home was being able to make sure that we're backed up to the wooded area. Mm-hmm. And I need to hear the birds. I don't want to see snakes, but I need to see everything else. And so we see deer, we see rabbits. It's just peaceful. And so for me, pulling up to the home, the time I enter that door, if she beats me here, there's music on, of course, I have to have peace. The home itself for me, home in general, needs to have peace. And so this home, no matter where we are in the home, even cooking, we're at peace. That's for me. It's just peace.
This is where you are. Okay.
Yeah, I'm hiding.
We
I'm
was
paying
looking
bills.
for. We know you hide. We know you hide. We know it. Oh my God, your office is such a vibe.
Thank you.
It is such
Thank
a
you.
vibe. Love it.
Yeah. The amazing part is, of course, the wife herself designed it. I had a little bit of say-so in it, not much. One of the big surprises was this organic cement table, which was like crazy heavy to get together. I didn't do it, of course, but someone did it for me. Fun fact, I switched the office around because I wanted to see if I liked it a little bit different, because literally the sun from all these windows be like baking my back at night, well, in the evenings. And so I switched it back. So she was right. It's comfortable. The kids come and watch TV all the time. So it's amazing. So thank you.
I came in here and I was like, why did you switch it? I thought very intentionally about like the placement and the feng shui of all of the furniture. But so you got to rearrange stuff to see what you like.
Yeah. And this is kind of like when I was saying earlier, like peace. So the wallpaper, which you wouldn't even think is wallpaper, looked painted on.
Yeah.
The guys did an amazing job on that. And so when I'm in here, it's just really, really quiet. At nighttime, so there's 2 lamps, and they have that kind of like bronze, darker light. So it's really, really calm at nighttime as well in here. So amazing. While you guys are in here, I will show you my closet. I have a couple of pair of shoes, not too many. The wife probably told you I pick out hers too.
You know what, please? You told me you got a couple pair of shoes.
So welcome into my closet. Originally, this was supposed to be here. It was a coat closet, and there was a coat closet in the hallway. So I decided, I was like, let's just make it one massive closet. And I needed somewhere to put my shoes. I didn't want to stuff them upstairs where my clothes were. And this is the last stop before I head out the garage. So in here, a lot of amazing, as you can see, tons of colors of shoes, all different brands and styles. One of my favorite pair, which I don't get to wear often, is actually my gold shoes, which are Dolce & Gabbana. And they're not the most comfortable, but they're exciting to wear as well. And then some of my most favorite shoes, I would say, are my Balenciagas, which, as you can see, I have a ton of different colors up there. And then the Prada shoes as well, I have a ton of different colors. So the big thing with me is when I buy shoes, if I like the cut, I like the style, I like the feel, I just get multiple colors. So fun fact. Well, you guys have seen my closet, the couple of pair of shoes I got, not too many. My favorite part, we're gonna head to the garage. Welcome to my dark garage. As I told you guys earlier, all black. We had the LED lighting up top. Just kind of like, my little quiet space, my little space I go in, and I have a little speaker over there in the corner you can't see, but this is where I hang out. I have my BMW 7 Series, and the special story with this is we went to the dealership to purchase my wife a new SUV, and we was probably a week out from my birthday.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I went to the bathroom or went to make coffee or something at the dealership, and she was like, I came back and she was like, happy birthday. And they started and backed this up. I was like, and she kept asking me, did I like it? But I was like, I couldn't really give a response. I'm like, what's happening, right? We're up here to buy you a car. So this was my 40th birthday gift last year, which is a Aston Martin DBX SUV. Amazing SUV. Has been super, super fun. Also in the garage, we have custom flooring. So we had a local company here in Richmond come by and actually do the entire space. I got to pick out like the design. So we did the red and black, and it's kind of like a hard plastic. So the great part about it, if you're driving in from a heavy rain, literally all the water goes underneath, drains out, the floor stays completely dry. So amazing feature here. We also had that on my wife's garage side as well. And plenty of natural light. We have 2 huge windows in here as well. And so, yeah, this is where I'm hanging out most of the time if I'm not in my office.
So listen, we done gave Homeworthy an entire look, an entire sneak peek at the most spectacular parts of our new home. And it's time for us, Homeworthy. It's time for y'all to get out. And so I think we should go on a drive. It's a beautiful day. And why don't we take your DBX for a spin? Want to do it?
Peace.
Let go.
I'm Mariah. Welcome to my home in Oldtown. I'd love to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, I'm Mariah Crosby Pollard, and we're at my house in Oldtown, Alexandria, right outside of Washington, D.C. This is Daffodil Pollard. She is a long-haired mini dachshund. Oldtown, Alexandria is a historic town. We have, cobblestone streets. Our house was built in 1830. It's one of the newer ones. It's a great little old town. We live directly behind our church, and we walk to a little patisserie on the next block. We know our neighbors and our mailman and the UPS driver and all the sweet little neighborhood things, but it also has some good city things as well. We live 7 minutes from the airport, and our kids walk to school and can get around with their friends in the playgrounds. The little tot lot is across the street, and soccer practice is just a couple blocks away. This house is a colonial. It is a little bit of a hodgepodge lodge because the front part of it was built in the 1830s, and then it just goes back. When we moved in, our oldest son, who's now 15, was 4. And our preschool is part of our church, and it's on this block. And one of his friends came over and said, "Your house is really little, but it's long," because it goes back into the backyard. And so the back part of the house was built in the early 1900s. My husband is actually from Richmond, Virginia, and we ended up here because he had accepted a job here the morning of the day we met in New York, and he went to school here in Alexandria, to boarding school, and so he was familiar with the area. And when I was still living in New York, and we were looking for places to live, we just were looking for, an area that we knew, we were getting married a little bit later, and we were looking for a good neighborhood with a good school district, and this was, had a lot of charm. Welcome to our house. This is our foyer, our stair hall. We don't have a lot of space to work with, so I tried to make sure that the surfaces had a lot of impact with all the different finishes. Although the patterns may feel modern, they're actually pretty old-fashioned. Malachite is a finish that's been used for many, many years. I used the same paper on the ceiling and under the chair rail because I thought it would probably take a lot of abuse. And I've got a mirror that was my grandmother's, but also a really contemporary table that you've probably seen a million times from, I think it's CB2. A great lacquer company tray from Mance, one of my favorite local stores, and a fun little visual comfort lamp with a custom lampshade from Midnight Sun. And a little vintage light that I have a little set of these. There's another one in the back of the house. We don't have a ton of wall space, so everything's kind of stacked up the stairs, and the grass cloth makes it easy to move art around because you don't see a lot of nail holes. These are Balinese shadow puppets, and I found these out at back when the Hampton Antiques Gallery used to exist out in Stamford. It was one of my very favorite places to find antiques. I still love going out to Stamford to find antiques. There are a lot of great antiques places out there. And these, I thought, had a great texture. And when you look closely, they have little pinholes in them. And it's my understanding, I have never been to Bali, but I believe that when these are held up, the light goes through them, and they do puppet shows with them. And on that one, you can see there's a stick to make the hands move. And then behind you is an old needlepoint. That was in my house growing up. And my mom was always needlepointed, but I don't know, that seemed like the only spot to put that. And then that's a piece of art that one of my friends gave to me. And I feel a little sentimental about that. And these are our children's portraits. My mother used to describe her style as early attic because of all of the sort of inherited, not necessarily fine things, but things that are sentimental and that have patina. And so we have a lot of things that were collected over time and belong to family, but also things that I've collected on my travels and from vendors who I love. And it's a mix of a lot of different styles and a lot of different looks. I think I do identify with the sentiment of early attic, but I definitely skew a little bit more modern. I would think that modern people would not look at this house and say it feels modern, but I think that traditionalists would not necessarily relate to this style either. I think I try to pick things that I love, and then they find a way to work into our house. We also have 3 children, and I try not to use things that will limit our ability to enjoy our house. This is our living room. Probably one of the most important things to me is this piece of art over our mantle. Agnes Barley is the artist, and she is an old friend of mine, and we bought this piece early in our marriage as an anniversary gift to ourselves. And I was so thankful that it fit over this mantle when we bought the house. So we sort of built the room around it. And the modern sconces that are here, the house was wired for them, but they just fit, and I wanted them because they didn't take away from the art. Probably the newest thing in this room are the Fromental panels that are flanking our mantle, and they have made such a huge difference in this room and making it feel cozy, and I really love that about the space. It feels cozy without making it feel dark, which is a challenge in these old houses that don't get a ton of light. This is another piece in here that I love. My husband and I bought this as an anniversary gift to ourselves as well. This is a print we got at Pace, and it's Alex Katz, and it's a big red smile, and that's his wife, who is in a lot of his artwork. These are where we keep all of our books. This set of figurines is part of a set that my father bought at auction for his mother, and then my mother has some of the set, and my brother has some of the set. So it's very sentimental to me. And wherever we've lived, we've always needed some bookcases where they could be safe. And it feels very special to me that my brother and my mom both have some of those pieces. This clock was also in the house that I grew up in. It needs to be fixed a little bit, but it also feels like part of my childhood. And then a lot of these pieces are just things that I've kind of collected in my travels, and things that have just kind of come with me. This chair is one that one of my upholsterers in New York made. He copied it from a vintage chair that we found when I was at Katie Ritter, and I've used it in a lot of projects, and it's just a super comfortable chair, and it's a great proportion, and it's just a very cozy spot to sit by the fire. I had an upholsterer here who I love work on it for me because I wanted something that was comfortable because we wanted to live in this room. This wall here looks like a gallery wall, but it's got a frame TV. Actually, the artist that has this piece of art that's projected on the television right now is Holly Coulis, who is another artist that I absolutely adore, and I would love to have a painting just like that of Holly's. I have a print that I love, but But I knew that if we didn't have a television in this room, that we wouldn't be using it as much in family life, because with 3 children, there's always stuff going on. And so, you know, my husband and I sit here and we watch TV, but when we have people over, it doesn't feel like a TV room. And this is just a very cozy sofa, but it doesn't feel like it belongs in a basement. This piece of furniture was designed to go in our last house as a dining banquette. And that was something I designed before I had children, because I probably wouldn't put silk velvet on a dining banquette at this stage of my life. But it actually has held up very well. It's actually a silk mohair, but the back of it is an antique obi, which I love to use antique textiles in my work. I've always had a thing for antique textiles. I think that's another thing I've definitely got from my mother. And I think it adds so much depth. And I was so relieved that that piece fit right there. And this is, whenever we have parties, this always ends up being a spot where people gather. And it's made a huge difference in this space. This coffee table was something that I love so much from the lacquer company, and it was not the perfect size for this room, but the opportunity arose for me to get it, and I was really excited, and and it's been great because it really makes it possible to sit by the fire and to be on the sofa, and it's a little overscale for this room, but I kind of love it. And during the pandemic, I put a cover over it, and we did puzzles on it, and the kids came in here and did their homework, and we lived in this room so much. I think we even had suppers around this kind of, you know, Moroccan cushion style. It was a great table, and you know, I put cushions on it so that my husband can put his feet on it, and you know, it has a little patina, but I don't mind, and it works well for me for all my stacks of books everywhere and all my little things. This is a great vase that I found just from one of my antique dealers that I love, and truth be told, I stick a glass vase inside of it to hold flowers because I would be afraid that it would not hold the water, and I do try to keep branches in it, you know, whatever the season may be. And a little secret is that I love the top of it so much, but it doesn't show if you sit it on the thing. So if you look right over there on the art wall, I hung the lid on a nail because I thought it looked so pretty, and I needed just something a little something round over there. But that piece has it really spoke to me, and there was a grouping of them, and I couldn't part with that one. So I sold the other pieces, but I had to keep that one. My mother really wanted me to go to school for interior design, and I told her I thought it was an MRS degree, and so I set off to get a degree in drawing and painting. Not as practical for me because I don't have great skill as a drawing and painting major. But I attended the University of Georgia that had an excellent art school, and I'm currently on the board of visitors there. And now the interior design school is part of the art school, which I think probably would have had a very different feel to me at the time. But I'm so glad that I did have my background in drawing and painting, because I think that having all the color theory and the work with composition, and I loved all of the life study and my experience in drawing and painting. I think informs my work to this day. And then I got into decorative painting, which was all the rage at the time, and that actually led me into working for an interior designer who was wonderful to me, and I had incredible work even while I was in school, and that led me to New York to Isabel O'Neill, which is a wonderful school for the decorative finish. And I worked in the auction world at Sotheby's, got a great experience, got some great experience with antiques and interiors there, and it just all kind of went from there. And I think having a varied background gave me a different perspective versus just going to school for interior design at that time. I mean, everybody's path is different. And today, you know, I mean, I did take some classes at New York School of Interior Design when I was in New York, which was amazing. And I wish that I had time to take some more. But I think that the history of interior design is so fascinating. But just having those years of work experience, I don't think I could have gotten any more valuable experience than that. And it was really valuable. And really, my mom was the one who pushed me to go to New York and get that foundation, and it was invaluable to me. All these rooms are connected, and the next room is our dining room. One thing that we did a couple of years ago that has made a huge difference in this house is we sanded and lightened all the old floors in here, sort of like the Swedish do, because they also have really dark times. And having the light floors has made a huge difference in the amount of light we get in these houses. This room definitely is, you know, a collection of a lot of things. This table base was the base we had in our old house, and when we moved into this house, I had one of my vendors make the lacquer top to fit this space so that we could seat as many people as possible and to reflect more light in this room. I bought this chandelier in New York down, I think on Mott Street. I love this pair of lamps, and I got those shades in Charlottesville at the shade shop. That is something I painted in college, and the colors worked in here. I wouldn't say it's my favorite painting, but the budget was right. This is a set of vintage prints that I put together, and I gave to my husband. I don't know if it's his favorite piece of art I've ever given him, but I really like it. These curtains actually were our bedroom curtains in our old house, and actually they're edged with the satin from our living room curtains in our old house. And it just all kind of, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle. If you look here, you can see how wonky the ceilings are. You'll notice also when we go up to my daughter's room, how crazy the ceilings are. This entire ceiling, there's like a 2-inch difference from one side of the room to the other. But that's just sort of par for the course. I bought that painting in New York at auction. It was one of like the summer sales. And I was so excited. I put in an absentee bid, and I just didn't think I would get it, and I did, and I was just so excited, and it's still one of my very favorite pieces of art. And I kind of pulled all the colors of the room around it. This piece right here is one of my favorite things. This is a Holly Coulis print, and she's one of my favorite people and one of my favorite artists. Is one of my grandmother's chairs. I would not advise sitting in it, but it was really special to me. This is it's like a mixture of wedding china and stuff that belonged to my family, and just sort of casual napkins, because we are a little more casual these days. Vintage glassware and vintage teacups that were things that I got from our family. I think this is sort of my color palette, and I love this. I got this tureen at the Washington Winter Show. I'm involved with that here. It's the antique show that we have in Washington every winter. It's a big fundraiser, and it's been a lot of fun for me to be involved with that. This is a Venetian glass blower, and my husband and I got them when we went to Venice on a trip, and I think they're one of my favorite things, and every time I go back to Venice, I try to pick some more up. And they're one of my very favorite things. We use them for water, we use them for cocktails, and I think they're some of my favorite things. You know, I think I'm actually originally from Jacksonville, Florida, and I do, you know, it's being in Virginia. It's everybody here takes their gardening very seriously, and I grew up. My father was a really serious gardener, and my mother claims she has a black thumb. I don't know. He died when I was pretty young, so I didn't really get a chance to learn any of his gardening skills. But I think my husband and I are doing our best to kind of limp along. But I do love to try to bring the outside in. But I think that it adds so much to have plants and natural things inside the house. It really does give a warmth, and growing up in Florida, we always had a lot of plants in the house, and it feels much more kind of normal and comforting to me. One of my favorite stores here in town, Mance, has all these incredible topiaries, and there are a couple of varieties that I can keep them alive for a lot longer than others. This is a brass firebox that no longer has firewood in it because this is available to use, but I haven't really, it's so small in here. This room is always hot. So we don't use this fireplace. But this is one that was in my house growing up, and my parents kept firewood in it. In Florida, it's a real challenge to keep your firewood dry and not very moist. So, and we have gas fireplaces in our 2 fireplaces here just because it is a lot safer to be able to turn them off. These 2 pieces over here are also Agnes Barley, the same artist who I have over the mantle in the dining room. And I think you can probably pick up that orange is one of my favorite colors. And it's sort of there are pops of it everywhere throughout the house. I think a lot of designers would agree, and I have dear friends in the business, and we all wish that we had a designer. It can be very frustrating. I think you always feel like you're the cobbler's children. I was grateful for this opportunity because having a deadline, it really forces you to deal with your own house. And but I mean, I think, you know, you never have the budgets of your clients. You never have the time to deal with your own space the way that you would for a client. You know, it always feels like you have more limitations, or that's at least the way it feels to me. But in a different sense, I feel free to take risks for my own house in a way that I feel I wouldn't do in a client's house. And I always appreciate seeing other designers' houses because you can see that freedom in their houses as well. Because I think you always feel a little bit more responsible for a client's house. I mean, you should, and you do feel a lot more responsible when you're working with somebody else's money and somebody else's space to make it perfect for them. And that should be the expectation, but that also sort of limits a little bit of, I think, there's definitely some beauty in the not quite perfect, and in a little bit of the something that's a little off. It sometimes gives a better energy. We put this bar in right before the pandemic, and it has gotten a lot of use. We have a lot of storage in here. I love this color. This is Bancha by Farrow & Ball. I love this marbleized paper. And my friend Susan did it for me. And it's just been such a fun spot. Sadly, I really can't drink wine anymore because it gives me a terrible headache. So most of the time I'm just drinking tequila and soda with a little lime. I love these napkins. There's a store in Georgetown that made these for me. We did a party that everybody kind of joked was like the last big hurrah before the pandemic. And we had a party for all of our neighbors. And so this is our zip code on it. And it was in late February of 2020. So I sort of laugh whenever I see these napkins. and think about that great party. And one of these days I'm going to have another big party. Maybe I should have it now that our house is all cleaned up. Like everything in this house, this is just a passageway into our next room, which is the kitchen. This kitchen has been a constant work in progress. Most of it just was inherited. We didn't do a whole lot but paint and change the floor when we got here. Our appliances have been dying off one by one since we moved into the house. We have a little breakfast area over here, which is having an eat-in kitchen was a really big deal for us when we moved in. That was a huge win when we were looking for a place to live. So this is where we have breakfast every morning and some of our family dinners. And then our laundry situation happens back here, and some of our folding happens there and here. Actually, we just transitioned to this larger piece. We used to have a radiator here, and so we had a bench built up over that, which was a little bit higher, and it served our children really well when they were little because it was up a little bit higher. And this has gone through a few renovations. We had just 2 small windows in here. I feel like we're in a constantly chasing more light in this house because we only have windows on one side since we share this wall with our neighbors. And sort of, since we have light on this side, we want to sit as close to it as possible. So we redid our lighting. We put in these little flush mounts from Urban Electric that have helped spread some light around in the kitchen and make it feel a little bit cozier. I added in this vintage chandelier that helped a little bit too. And while we do not want to cover up the windows too much, we added these shears to help, and the trees and the walkway to kind of help give us a little bit of privacy from our neighbors as much as we love them. You just kind of want to give the kitchen a little bit more warmth. You spend so much time in here. I hate for it to feel too clinical. So there just wasn't, it was feeling, once we tiled the walls, I didn't, like many things with the cobbler's children, I didn't really invest in the tile. It was something that we did sort of quickly, and it felt too cold in here. So I wanted to add a little more warmth, and I loved this wallpaper. It felt so fun. And at the time that I did it, our children were young, and they were completely scandalized by the monkeys. They thought they were really funny. Total kitchen renovation is not really in our future, but when I get to that, I probably would eliminate the open shelving. Right now, I just keep our wedding china in here because it's the prettiest thing that we have. But these came with the kitchen. I don't think these corner cabinets are the most practical because they're just deep and they get dusty, but they just house things that are more attractive. With our kids, we had these julep cups, and I was never really fond of plastic glasses. So and we have a great neighborhood jeweler on the next block, and they were always really nice about banging out dents. So our children used the julep cups as their like kitty cups when they were little. I have a great friend who does a lot of container gardening, and she will find vintage containers, and she'll just post pictures of things that she's planted on Instagram and put it up for grabs. And I can't help myself because I think they're so cute. And she posted that, and I fell in love. So this was definitely something to convince the family about, but it was a little table that I found in North Carolina. We spend our summers with my mom in Cashers, and I found this little table there, and we really were desperate for just a little bit more counter space and a little bit of storage, and then I had one of my stone vendors make this top for it because I wanted something with a little bit of an edge. And also, I love this detail, and I wanted to have an example of the detail so that I could show it to clients. And just having this little bit of space with the rounded edge gives us just one more spot to use in this tiny little kitchen, but it doesn't take up too much space for us, for our chairs or for our cooking. It's probably not what would fall under optimal space if you Google searched it, but it works just fine for us. What is my favorite thing about our home? Is it bad to say our bar? No, I don't. Our last house, I loved our ceiling height, and I miss that, the ceiling height and the light in this house. But I do feel like we can entertain pretty well here, and I love, before the pandemic, we used to host people here all the time. We were always having sort of, groups, last minute family parties, and I would always have, a pot of soup on the stove, and with the, little tot lot across the street, we would inevitably have, pickup groups that would come over and have sort of last minute parties. And in Oldtown, it's kind of unusual to have space to do that, and kids would be in the yard, and now we ended up putting in a little bar right before the pandemic, and that ended up being, it's nice to have a spot to gather. I appreciate that. So if you follow me back here, we keep going back to our back stair and our family room. This is our family room, and this we turned into a gas fireplace, and the kids absolutely love it. Our daughter comes back here and turns it on and reads. They turn it on in the morning when they come down for school and it's chilly. We have our family computer back here. This is where the Xbox lives and all that stuff. The dog pillows, my son went to boarding school this year. He is a freshman, and he is very close to our dogs. I'm like everybody, at every marketing person's dream, and I got these dog pillows, and my son was appalled. And he said he would never put those on his bed, but I think they're so hilarious. So here they sit, Otis and Daffodil, and the pillows are much bigger than the actual dogs, but we think they're really funny. And then these chairs I kind of love. They've had a little bit of a rough time and need to be redone, but these were in my mother-in-law's house. And I love the little old-fashioned scale of them. And I mean, these were the slip covers that she had on them. And I think that they're so fun. And I can't bring myself to redo them. Oh, I love this light fixture. This is Shades from the Midnight Sun. I've been working with since I was a wee decorating sprout. And they made this incredible light for us. This is an antique clock weight that I found, and we designed this fixture so that we could have something that had impact but didn't hit you in the head. I wear hats all the time. I have really sensitive eyes. It's actually kind of crushing me right now to not have a hat on with all the overhead lighting. So I needed a place to store all of them. I pretty much wear one almost every day. So this is where I keep all my hats. This is sort of our mudroom. We added this in when we bought the house. There was a brick wall here, and this was a kitchen. And in our sort of most recent renovation, we opened this up and added coat closets here. This is a little table from Room and Board that I had cut down so that it could sit on the window or on the door jamb. And it functions really well. It has, the glue guns and a lot of the art supplies. And over the years, the supplies have kind of gotten less as their needs have changed. But it's been a great space back here, and the kids sit back here and they do their school projects, and when their friends come over, they make bracelets and do things with glitter. So it's a good spot. Let's head outside. So this backyard was a major selling point of the house for us. The children were really, they were 4, 3, and newborn when we moved in. And we put in this tree house, which was a lot of fun for them. And then in 2020, we added this swing. And this has been a great hit with the kids. It is terrifying to watch because they swing all the way up in the air here. But it's a lot of fun. And it's great to see the yard getting used. And the turf has added a lot because not much will grow under the oak tree. But it's nice to be out here and to have a little spot in the yard. We've tried to level the pavers out here a few times, but the roots of this tree just keep growing. There is, we thought that this tree had been here for hundreds of years. And then a man who grew up in this house actually stopped by and brought us some pictures from when he was a boy. And his family actually planted this tree, which was crazy. But our church actually there's an underground river, which is crazy. So I think that this tree just gets a lot of water and it has deep roots. So it's kind of funny. We thought it was like this historic oak, but it's just a quick growing one. But it does provide good shade in the summer and probably provides a little bit of sound barrier from the flight path. I find flipping through books so inspiring as well. I mean, I ended up putting shelves in here, and I may do some real sturdy built-ins, but here and at our studio, I have a pretty extensive library of design books, and it's just there's something so different about sitting down with a book. I love to curl up here by the fire when it's yucky outside, and I have my little sticky notes, and I take pictures of the pages and file them away, and it really, I do find so much inspiration in that. And there's something different about a book versus being online, also because your phone's not interrupting you every 5 seconds. And I love to put a stack next to me and just sit there and do that. And that really is I draw a lot of inspiration from that. This house is what they call railroaded. So it's actually good that you don't have to go through all the bedrooms. My son's room is this way, and then my girls' rooms are this way. We'll go this way. This is my middle child actually has the middle room. And so usually somebody's walking through her room to get to another room. Since the house is railroaded, but her room had a little teen glow up recently, and she got wallpaper, which was really exciting for her. She picked the Schumacher paper, and we absolutely love it. I was so thrilled because it's something that I would actually want in my room. And last year for her birthday, she got a queen bed instead of the twins that were my grandmother's. So that was very exciting too. But she does have my grandmother's old lamps. And she's got a few other, grandmotherly things that she probably could do without, but she stuck with them. Like her, that's my great Aunt Eva, who is her namesake. We tried to do a little glow up on her West Elm bookcase with the wallpaper too, but I can't get over the transformation of wallpaper in a room. It really is just incredible what the difference can make. And we just reworked all of the things that she had, like her window treatments and everything. And that was really fun. I had this is something I bought, in my single. This was exciting for me. I found this is a Gracie cartoon. Gracie used to do these cartoons when you were going to commission a custom wallpaper. And this was one of theirs that I bought. It may have been actually part of a panel, I don't know. But this was for sale out at one of those antique centers in Stamford. And I bought, this was like my central piece of art when I was a single person. And she's always loved that. And then I got these things over my travels through various dealers and things. And they're all things that she was excited about to kind of make her room a little bit more grown-up feeling. And then there are a few little pieces of around her dresser over here. All of our children have little pieces of artwork that have New York in them, because we're trying to subtly brainwash them to love New York. This is the girls' shared bathroom. This Katie Ritter wallpaper is one of my favorites. I think it's so much fun. And this sink was, in the house. This was already here. And I just thought the Katie Ritter wallpaper made it seem so much less old lady. And so when we updated their bathroom, they have this sort of mini little clawfoot tub, and I painted the tub purple. And that's what their little window in the bathroom is purple as well. It's kind of fun to make it seem a little bit more fun for the girls. This is our youngest daughter's room. I'm walking downhill right now. You can see the whole room is very slanted. She was about 6 weeks old when we moved in here, and I would put her on the floor and she would roll to this corner. And it is, it's quirky. She is a big Harry Potter fan. So my friend Mark Gagnon, he does these incredible animals. We've got another one downstairs, but I saw that he did this owl, and I fell in love with it. So I got that, and I recently put it up here in her room. She is a great reader. We got her this little chair. This is an anthropology chair, and my friend Paige Green is an artist, and she did a collaboration with anthropology, and Selby also loves horses, so that was one reason that we did that. This bed actually is one that I slept in as a little girl. My mother slept in it, my grandmother, her mother, and her grandmother. I have definitely broken this bed. It's been mended a lot of times. It's kind of listing this way because of the slant of the room, but it is it's a neat old bed. And we just got her some bulletin boards because she's taping everything up on the walls, as preteens will do. And it's been, this is a local artist, Nicole Seifert, painted her this picture for her birthday, which was great. I love vintage. I think vintage things add a lot of character. But I mean, she actually has a lot of bungalow stuff in her room. These are both bungalow pieces and have been super functional for her. And I love to mix those new things and with the vintage. I mean, when you've got this really, really old bed, it's nice to have these cleaner things. And the same thing in Eva's room. She's got the antique desk that was, and the antique painting. So she's got the lacquer dresser and some of the more contemporary pieces that I think help to balance those things out and make them a little bit more palatable for the young. As I said, everything, you walk through one room to the next, but this is our front stair hall. You can see the finish continues from downstairs, and the grass cloth makes it easy to put all of our family pictures and things up here. One thing I'll share with you, if anybody's familiar with Café des Artistes, that used to be an iconic spot on the Upper West Side of New York City. This is kind of a fun thing. Howard Chandler Christie was the artist who did all the murals in there, and it was a neat place to go. And I went when I was little, and when I lived on the Upper West Side. Well, he actually came to Jacksonville when my grandparents were there, and he was painting the murals in the church, and he stayed with my grandparents. And so he did my dad and my uncle's portraits. And so this is a portrait of my dad that looks a little bit more like a cherubic angel, because if you look at the lips and things. But that is a portrait of my dad that was Howard Chandler Christie, which is kind of fun. So that was really fun for me when I was little to get to go and visit Café des Artistes and know those portraits, and that he stayed with my grandparents. These are just all family photos and one of me when I was little, and that is a baptismal gown that I was baptized in, and my children were all baptized in, and it's just in a little box where it can be taken out when anybody in our family needs it. This is our primary bedroom. When we moved in, the closets were not deep enough to have hangers in them. So with a 4-year-old, 3-year-old, and 6-week-old, we had to do a little construction in our bedroom, which was great. We had to move this wall forward to make 2 closets here for us, but it worked out. And then just kind of a lot of vintage things. The most recent thing in here probably is this bed, which I was super excited about because I bought this headboard when Lisa Fine it was before she started her fabric line, and she was going back and forth to India a lot, and she had these headboards that she had a kind of really before pop-ups were even talked about as pop-ups at Keith Langham's showroom. And I splurged and bought this headboard, but it was a queen. And when we had a California king, it didn't work. So my Charles Beckley in New York turned it into a California king headboard for me and made this bed. And these box springs actually have storage drawers in them, which is super important in a house that has almost no storage. So that was like a major thing for me to get this bed, and I love it so much. It was one of my very favorite things. And I love this Leontine quilt, which feels really fancy, but is also fine for our dogs who definitely sleep in our bed. This is their little stool. They hop up on it and hop on the bed. And I bought those vintage side tables in New York, and they also have a ton of storage in them. And those drapery panels were cotton velvet draperies that I bought at IKEA when we first found this house, and we had such no time and no budget because they were a close match to the Pharaoh and Ball blue ground color that I wanted to use in here, and I needed something that was that would help the sound of the bus route. This is early attic. This bench was my great-great-grandmother's, and I would never have bought that, but it fits, and I certainly can't get rid of it. So I put a fun fabric on it, and it fits between those doors, and it's a great place to, put our clothes out in the morning. And then this thing, I cannot help myself with antique textiles, and I thought this was so fun, and all the colors worked in here, and we're just never going to probably use this fireplace. So it just sort of helps cover up the black hole, and I just can't help myself at an auction. I just love it. And I found this also in Westport at, I found this in Stamford at one of the antique malls. And my husband keeps trying to find the artist online because he's convinced that it's something really fabulous and valuable. But I keep telling him he's just got to enjoy it for what it is, because I don't know that it is, but I love it. My favorite thing about this bathroom is heated floors. And I love our little Harlequin wallpaper with the hummingbirds. We spend our summers in North Carolina, and we have a ton of hummingbirds up there. And this has this little it almost looks like tea paper, and it has a reflective quality. I have a nude in here by Ridley Howard that is that our children felt was inappropriate for downstairs. But it's a pencil drawing that he gave us as a wedding gift, and I really love it. What does home mean to me? Home for me is being comfortable. I love to have music on and have my friends around me, my family around me. It's nice to be able to be comfortable in your house, to feel to feel that your space reflects you, and to feel that you don't have to, it's nice to feel settled. And I do think that having your home pulled together in a nice way, it doesn't have to be in a luxurious way, but sort of, organized and peaceful, whatever that means to you. I think that's what home feels like to me. Having, and I'm grateful that I love having food that I can share with friends, and a space that I can share with friends, and having my dogs and having my children. That's what home means to me.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Jacqueline. Welcome to my Northern Virginia home. Come on in. I can't wait to show you around. My name is Jacqueline Bond. I am here in my 1950s home right outside DC in Northern Virginia. I live here with my daughter Lila, who's 9 months old, and my husband. We really didn't have to do any work, which was part of the reason why we purchased it. So it was originally built in the 1950s by the builder who built this entire neighborhood, actually. But then it was renovated by an amazing woman who I'm actually friends with today, the previous owner, in 2008. She completely gutted it, but kept a lot of the features, a lot of the crown moldings, and the kind of like the beautiful structure of the home. But she renovated it, all the paint we kept. We really haven't changed anything, just a few aesthetic changes and obviously the interiors, but she did an amazing job, and I didn't want to mess up what was already good. I'd love to tell you about Bond and Grace. So I co-founded a publishing and art house. We launched in 2021, and our mission is to renew and rediscover classic works for the modern reader. And so what we do is we republish classic novels. We pair the original text with annotations from literary scholars and fine art. And so we asked 12 artists to read the original classic story and then use the story as their prompt for the art they create. And that resulted in 52 original pieces of art. So all of the art that's in the novel, you can actually see throughout my home. My home is basically a living art gallery, and all of the art in the home is available for sale. So it's really special to be able to have collectors come into the home and see the art in a living, breathing space. And every time we release a new novel, the art will rotate in the house. So right now, the art is The Secret Garden. This fall, we are launching Frankenstein. So my house is about to look a heck of a lot different, but it's gonna be very cool. So I live in kind of this constant changing designed house, which is really exciting to me. Welcome to our foyer. The first thing I remember when we walked into this house for the first time is actually the floor. I love the checkered floor. I think it's such a statement right when you walk in. And to kind of balance that statement, I knew I also wanted some really big, beautiful art. And so Maggie Lamack is the artist that did this piece. It's actually supposed to represent Mother Nature. And she said that Mother Nature she knows as a woman, not because of its beauty, but because of its strength. And I love that notion. And so this is by Maggie Lamack. This is also another piece by her. But I think kind of the big, beautiful art right when you walk in sets the tone for the home. Follow me. We will walk into what I like to call my tea room. I love bright, colorful, happy rooms. So one of my favorite things to collect is journals and stationery. And so there's an amazing stationery store in London called Choosing Keeping, and they create these hand marbled, hand stitched journals that I've been collecting over time, and I thought they were so fun and colorful. So I put them in an acrylic treasure chest so that anyone who sees them, they're kind of like the first thing you see when you walk in the room. I'm hoping my daughter will journal in them one day. We'll see if that happens. I love chess. My husband and I play chess all the time. And so I found this piece on Cherish. It's actually also a card table if you flip it over. And I thought it was really cool because it was super old and antique. And I loved pairing it with these funky shell modern chairs. I just kind of thought they were the perfect opposition to each other. So that's one of my favorite pieces. So I work with amazing designer, interior decorator Dana Tidings. She knows I love florals and flowers, and so she thought it was a perfect fit for this space. So these are really fun. Again, I found them on Cherish. That's kind of my go-to spot. I thought they were really kind of a funky color. They're not quite bright green, they're not quite pale green, but I thought they really brought the space together. They were actually my last purchase for the space. One thing about me is I'm never done decorating a room, so I actually, I have plans to reupholster this couch over here in a fun print one day. I have a lot of ideas for potential paint and wallpaper. This is kind of an ever living room, and that's how I approach all my rooms. So this room isn't done, but I'm pretty happy, and this is my happy place. This piece is by Kim Ahukonen. She is an amazing artist based in Miami. They are penning her as the next Monet, which I love. She was actually a lawyer and then decided she wanted to leave her law degree and paint. And this is her 2 years in to creating art, and I just think it's such an amazing piece. This piece right here is called Veil, and if you look up close, it's actually 700 individual stitches of embroidery, and I think it's really beautiful. I actually had a landscape architect come to my home, and he saw this piece and he screamed, "Grass!" Which I thought was really funny. It is extremely intentional for all of my furniture to feel like you can plop right on down and not feel like you're afraid to put your feet up or you will spill a glass of wine. I want my home to feel like a home, and yes, it's beautiful, but this is where we live. This is where my family gathers, and that was really, really important to me. So yes, every couch chair should feel like you're allowed to sit in it, and that it's not a stuffy, uptight room. So I have always loved the idea of having my girlfriends or family over for tea. I think I've watched probably too much Bridgerton over time, or Pride and Prejudice. And so that was the initial concept behind having a tea room. And so this table, it's a checkered table I also found on Cherish. I always have it set for tea for whoever might come over, and I love colorful china, mix matching patterns. Again, not afraid of color, anything bright and happy. I always try to accomplish here, and it overlooks our backyard, which is a really nice space. So for our wedding, we were gifted Janori china from my parents, which I love. And caveat, if I pronounce that wrong, don't blame me, please, Janori, don't come after me. But I loved it. I think it's colorful and happy. We have the dinner set too, and I love mix and matching, and you never know which color you're gonna get. I think that's really fun. Next, I will take you to the den. The tea room was certainly my room. The den was designed more with my husband in mind. So we love St. Michael's. We have been going there since we started dating. My husband's family has a place out there, and it's really where we fell in love. It's also where we got married. And so I wanted a space that reflected our time in St. Michael's, to bring a little bit of St. Michael's to Northern Virginia. And so this room was pretty dark when we bought it. It was probably the most drastic room we changed when moving in. And so first we did a kind of like a whitish blue paint, and then we painted the ceilings yellow, which I think is really fun. And so based off of the blue and yellow theme is where we made the choices on all of the furniture. This piece, this coffee table right here, is super special to us. We found it actually when we were in St. Michael's at an old antique store in St. Michael's. It's originally a piece from London. It's a small boat that they reconfigured into a coffee table, and it's probably one of my most favorite pieces in the home. This side table right here is actually from a submarine, which is super cool. So it's the window of a submarine, and it's super heavy. I'm actually kind of afraid of it if it ever fell. You know, playing off kind of the nautical theme, but not too much nautical because I think that can get a little kitschy. We reupholstered these pillows to match the lampshades, and then this pattern is also the wallpaper pattern behind this bookshelf, which I think is really fun and brightens the space. These two pieces are by Karen Davis. She's an amazing, one of my favorite artists. The yellow obviously popped, matching the ceiling. But this bookshelf is filled with our memories. So we have a ton of photos from all of our travels together. A lot of the little knickknacks are actually from our wedding. If you turn this around, one of the, this is from our guacamole bar from our wedding, but I thought they were too cute to throw out, and they just fit perfectly. There's also a range of Moby Dick books that I've collected over the years throughout. And then this piece is from my late grandfather's bar. His name was Wally, and all of his friends nicknamed him Buck. He was quite the character, and I was lucky to receive the sign from his bar, and so that's very proudly displayed. So this huge elephant in the room is this pool table. It was actually left here by the previous owner. I think part of the reason was because she couldn't get it out of the door. But you know, it's great to have a pool table, but when you're entertaining, it's nice to be able to place a drink, and rather than placing it on the pool table, I actually had an event planner create this tabletop. It's a blue velvet-ish tabletop that we put on top, and when we're entertaining, we put florals here, food here, drinks here, which is really nice, and I actually think it makes it look really clean and pretty. So this was the room that convinced my husband that this was going to be our forever home. I fell in love with the house. My husband was standing here, and he saw the backyard, which I hope to take you out to see in a bit. But he saw the tire swing on the tree, and he said, "This is our house." And so I will always remember that moment. Him looking out into the yard, kind of picturing our future here. And so this room will always be special for that reason. So now we will head to the dining room. We'll pass through, we call this kind of our art gallery wall, which opens up into the garden. I will take you to the garden in a bit. I'm very excited. Our peonies are now blooming. But this is our dining room. And I found these chairs. I built the room around these black chairs. I found these chairs in North Carolina. I was visiting with my best friend, and I saw these chairs in an antique store there. It's one of the largest antique stores on the East Coast, and forgive me, I don't remember the name. But I saw these chairs and I had to have them. I thought they were super cool. So what I love about these chairs, not only do they have amazing detail and design, I think these lions are incredible. I mean, the craftsmanship in these chairs are amazing. But what I thought was so special, and I'm imagining all these love stories, but the husband and wife who owned this chair, they carved their initials in each chair, which I just think is so romantic. So their love story lives on beyond these chairs, and these were made in the 1700s in Normandy. So I love that story. Maybe one day we'll put our initials at the foot of the chair. But this china on this table, we also received this china for our wedding. I thought it was very French looking and regal. I thought it was very beautiful. And then this glass, I'll show you my collection later, is Estelle colored glass. It's a Black woman owned business in Charleston. I'm obsessed with all of her glassware. It's beautiful, it's super reasonable. And so for my birthday, I always ask for a new kind of set or collection for that. So these placemats are from Pomegranate. They have great napkins, amazing prints, block prints, really fun patterns, which I think just kind of make the table. And then this piece right here is actually really meaningful too. It's very dark and striking, obviously. The artist, Julia Hacker, she actually says when she sees this piece, she gets a visceral reaction from it, because at the time she was painting it, her mom was actually in the Ukraine, and she was trying to get her mom out of the country during the Russian invasion. And so the black was almost like her despair during that time period, but the blue in the background, it represents hope and how she was still hopeful that her mom would come out. And her mom did come out. She was able to bring her mom back to the United States. But I just get chills every time I think about this piece, that after so much despair and darkness, there can be light. And I love that. And the background of this, if you look up close, is the actual words from The Secret Garden that she painted over, which I think is really cool. So I'm all about sustainability, so I love finding furniture that has been used previously. So I love antique stores. I honestly love Cherish. I think I find so much on Cherish that's amazing. But yeah, so I like to collect as I go. I feel like previously, earlier in my life, I would design a room and buy a bunch of things just to fill the room, and I don't operate that way anymore. I like to find pieces that have meaning and that have a story behind it, that takes 10 years to build a specific corner in a room. So my pace is much slower, but it's a lot more intentional. And like I said before, I'm not afraid of color. I love color, but I love things with meaning too. So I'm excited to show you some of the collections that I've built so far and that I'm continuing to build, because I don't believe designing is ever done. I'm planning to live here for the rest of my life, and I want this home to reflect a life and reflect our travels and reflect moments that have happened within our family. And I think design should be ever evolving. This room is what we call our uppers and downers room. We have our bar, and we have our coffee and our tea. I told you I drank a lot of tea. These are all my tea from London, and then this whole, if you look in here, don't look in there, but it's filled with tea. This is the Estelle colored glass collection that I've started, and I love the glass cabinets here. I just think it, again, is happy and colorful. But yeah, I love this space. So every morning, come in here and get my tea. Yeah, and the wallpaper is fun. It's got leaves on it. And then if you look over here, this is actually a bust that was created for my wedding, Sense and Sippability, which is kind of cheeky and portrays my love for Jane Austen. So one of my favorite drawers is this drawer. It's my napkin ring drawer. When I found this set up, I got super excited. For Christmas, you can tie bows around your napkin. We have bumblebees, barbecues for corn. I love this drawer. But one thing I always do is, for anyone who's coming over for dinner, I make them a name tag, and then I draw some type of icon that represents whoever that person is. And I save them, so when they come back over, I don't have to redraw it every time. But yeah. So this is my kitchen. It's very classic with a cream custom colored cabinetry. Honestly, it's just bright and open with the windows on each side, and we do a lot of cooking in here, and it's a familial space. You'll have me, my grandma, my great-grandma all in here cooking. So this wood island, to be honest, has given me a lot of trouble. It's beautiful. We've had to have it stained a few times. I think if I were to come back and do it again, I probably wouldn't have this wooden island, but what I do like about it is that it feels like the outside is brought in. But it is not easy to clean, so I do want to be transparent about that. My style is a mix of old and new. I love vintage pieces, but I also love that surprise element that's gonna throw you off a little bit. I love very classic traditional pieces, but I also love a modern twist, an acrylic piece, or a funky art piece in the mix. So that's how I've approached each room. I love color. I am not afraid of color. And so I actually coin each room by a specific color, and that has led me to the design of that specific room. So I have a purple bedroom, I have a kind of rainbow tea room, I have a black dining room, and that's how I've approached each room in design. So from the kitchen, it's really wonderful because it opens up directly into the family room. So if, you know, my mom and I are cooking in here, we don't feel isolated from the rest of the gathering. This is probably the space we hang out in most of the time. Christmas is here. We have a big tree over here when it's not a diaper station. But this is where we live predominantly throughout the year. What I love about it is the calming whites, the greens, the browns. Again, it's an extension from the outside, kind of bringing the yard in. This is actually one of my favorite antique pieces I found at an antique store in Georgetown that's unfortunately no longer with us. Please support your small businesses. But this is my letter writing station. I'm a firm believer in writing handwritten letters and thank you notes, and so this is kind of my collection of stationery over time. But I love this piece. It's extremely heavy, but it's really beautiful, and it's a funky color, which I thought was really cool. Letter writing to me is a complete lost art form. It's something that I think is so special and rare these days. You know, we can always send an email or a DM through social media, but there's something very special about receiving a letter in the mail that's addressed to you in cursive handwriting. And so it is very important to me that I regularly not only write to my friends, love letters to my girlfriends, thank you notes to my family, or just, you know, checking in on you, or I heard you went through a hard time. I regularly do that. So I separate all of my cards. I love collecting fun cards. So this is a perfect example. Whatever you're going through right now, carbs are the answer. So I collect fun cards. There's a wonderful stationery store in Alexandria that I find my cards at. But my family also knows me really well, and they usually gift me stationery for my birthday or Christmas. So I've collected it over time. And one day my publishing house is actually hoping to create some stationery, so that's future goals. But yeah, this is where I sit to write all my letters. So this one, Sorry to Ghost You, I Got a New Novel, is a postcard that I regularly send out to my friends because it's true. I regularly ghost them because I'm probably heads down in my favorite romance novel that came out. So yeah, that's probably my most fun one. So one other fun thing that I do, and this is kind of going back to the Victorian age, sometimes I feel like I was meant to live during that time period, minus the lack of women's rights, is I use a wax seal for all of my letters. So this is me and my husband's initials, and I wax seal it, which is really fun too. Makes it a little extra special. This is my green pot collection. The same antique store that I actually bought this letter writing desk at, I found this pot, which I thought was super funky and cool. And so I initially, when I moved in, I placed it here. It was a bunch of empty white shelves, and I said, okay, I want to build my green pot collection. So over time, as I found things, whether in stores or in antique stores or on Cherish, I've collected this over time, and I think that's part of the fun in design, is that you start with an idea and then you can build it out over the years. So this is it so far. It's probably going to significantly change from this moment in 10 years from now, but I love it. This table was actually left here by the previous owner, and thank goodness, because I'm not sure I would have found a more perfect table. I don't think I would have thought of just kind of bringing a natural wood tone into this space. I love the rattan chairs. So these are, I also collect funky place card holders. So these are topiaries, which I think are really fun. I have some white seashell placeholders. What else? I have some pearls that are also placeholders. So yeah, I think it's really fun to mix it up. And these are the Gnori table dining set that I mentioned I got for my wedding earlier, all different colors. And then again, the pomegranate placemats, which I think is a really beautiful green print. Next we'll go to the mudroom. My husband is a big gardener, and so he will take my daughter Lila in this basket down to the garden, and he makes vegetables. He has a spice garden, so he loves this piece. Moving into here, this is my mudroom, which I love this color. It was actually brown in here before, but we updated it to kind of this light green color. I love decorating spaces that are not typical, that are the small bathrooms, the laundry rooms, the mud rooms. I think they're the most fun to decorate. I'm not really sure why, but I think they're really fun. And this is my favorite bathroom in the whole house. We have this Schumacher wallpaper, the black and white florals, which I think are really beautiful. And again, it's an extension from the outside, which I love. Let me show you the outdoor space. So over here, we have my husband's spice garden. And then over here, we have my favorite spot of the whole backyard is our peonies. It's our bird feeder, so it's lovely to look out in the breakfast nook and see the birds and the bird feeder, and then the beautiful peonies, which I definitely need to clip. This is our entertainment area. All the furniture is from Serena and Lily. It's very white. It's hard to keep it clean, to be honest. But these chairs over here are some of my favorite. They remind me of Alice in Wonderland for some reason, but they're super funky. I found them on Cherish, and I was going back and forth for a long time, but they kept coming up on my favorites, and eventually I made the decision to purchase. I think they're really fun. And then this table is also Serena and Lily. But over here we have amazing flowers, roses. We entertain out here often. We'll usually put a tent out with tables, which is really fun, or picnics. And then if you look over here, we have about 2 acres beyond this area. And my husband has a vegetable garden down here that is not yet done. And then we're also planning to put up some solar. So it goes back about 2 acres, and there's a nice creek in the back. So the future plan after the solar and the vegetable garden, I would love to build a conservatory out there. But we got time. When we bought the home, the tire swing was here, as I mentioned earlier. So all the visions of our future children swinging on this tree kind of came to life, which I'm so excited about. But yeah, this really is the reason why we bought the home, was because of this backyard. The great thing about the DC area is that we really get all of the wonderful seasons. So right now, the end of spring, all of the flowers blooming. In the summer, a different range of flowers are coming up. But then in the fall, it's absolutely gorgeous, and the trees turn orange and red. We just love this space, and we're out here all the time. And even the winter, when it snows in this backyard, it feels like you're in a winter wonderland. So this is certainly the reason for purchasing this home, was this backyard. These are the peonies. They certainly need to be clipped, but I just think they're absolutely gorgeous. I need to actually bring them in and cut them for my tabletop. But I love the color. It's bright pink and happy. And then in our front yard, we actually have white peonies, which are really beautiful too. What I love most about my home is that it's a gathering place. It is a large home. But my mom has 8 brothers and sisters. I come from a very large Irish Catholic family. We have big Thanksgivings. About 60 people are at our Thanksgivings every year. And I always wanted a place where I knew my family could come and gather. But it's also a space where, we host political fundraisers and we do a lot of awareness building on different issues that we care about. And so this home isn't just meant for, me and my family to enjoy. It's meant to be shared with others, and that's what I love about it.
Okay, this is Lila. Lila, say hi. Hi, say hi. We're gonna go show them your room. Let's go. Lila's 9 months old. Oh, is he chasing you? Is he chasing you? Yeah.
So I chose 3 colors for the theme of the room. The room actually had a very pale light pink, and these curtains were here before, and so I decided to play off that a little bit and use a mint light green color, and then they called it a Versailles cream, which is the custom color of this crib and this bookshelf. It was made by RFK Furniture. I love the gold detail emblem right here. You can see ribbons and florals throughout. We fill this bookshelf with kids' versions of Pride and Prejudice books, and then just heirlooms over time that I'm hoping to collect for her. Say hi, you love your books. And then I found this really beautiful mint chest of drawers from an antique store. And then these paintings are actually super cool. My mom, my sister, and I found them in Bath over in the UK, and they're covers of magazines from the Victorian era, and it's the different fashion from the different seasons, which I thought was really cool. And then this wallpaper is Gracie wallpaper. We had actually purchased it for our kitchen in our row home in DC, but we never got to putting it up. And so when we came to Northern Virginia, I had this roll of Gracie wallpaper, and it just happened to fit perfectly into this room. And when we found out we had a girl, it worked out. This is our guest room. I call it the purple room for obvious reasons. It's purple. What's interesting is this actually used to be 2 separate bedrooms, but the previous owner, she wanted it to be one larger room, so she broke down the wall, and so now it's a really comfortable guest room for my parents normally. There originally was 2 beds in this room, one under each light fixture, but I just wanted a really big, large, comfy bed. And I actually found this bed on Front Gate. I just thought it was cool and pretty. It reminded me of like the Victorian era kind of big headboards. And when they actually moved this into the space, it was so tall that it poked a hole in the wallpaper on the roof, which is really funny. We've covered it since. But I love the light fixtures. It's just super simple. It's very calming in here. So I found these antique prints online. I just thought they were very beautiful and calming. And then I got them framed by my local framer here in Northern Virginia. And I just thought they were really beautiful. And then this piece is by Brenna Murphy, fine artist Brenna Murphy, currently based in Germany. This is also embroidered if you look up close, but it's supposed to reflect depression coming into light over time. So I think it's a beautiful piece, and it's purple, so I felt like it fit perfect in this space. But the bookshelves, they're nowhere near done yet. I love collecting over time, like I mentioned before. So books that speak to me, treasures that I find at antique stores. It's a living, breathing room that I keep evolving as it goes. But it's filled with pictures of family. My great-grandma's in there, a picture from her wedding, my mother-in-law and her identical twin sister. So this really is meant to be a family, comfortable space. So I found these side tables on cherish. It almost looks like a wooden tree, and then it has these floral handles that I think are really funky and cool. So that's all you'll see up here. The other rooms are definitely still a work in progress. like I mentioned, over time, slow but surely and intentionally. And so next, I'm going to take you to one of my favorite rooms, one of the final rooms, which is our office. So this space originally was actually orange. And although I'm a Florida Gator, I am not a huge fan of orange. And so I knew I wanted to do a lacquered paint. But originally this paint was supposed to be a very grayish blue lacquered paint. So imagine my surprise when I was gone for the week and I came back to this very bold blue color. I've certainly gotten used to it since then. I actually love it now, but at first it was quite the shock to the system. But I love it now. So this is the Secret Garden art novel that my publishing house created. So it's our first art novel, and what we did was we took the original story. We did not change one word of the original book. So you'll see the original text from the story. And then we asked our artists to use the story as the prompt to create their art. So all of the art you see in the book is actually original pieces of art that have been displayed throughout the home, and they are all for sale. So these pieces are by C.C. Swin. She's based in London. She wanted to show the different seasons of the garden portrayed through her paintings. So the first is the very dark, kind of gloomy garden, and Mary, the main character, entering the garden. This is the statue, the overgrowth, kind of the depression of the winter. And then as you expand to spring, you can see the hands that are starting to pull up the dirt and take care of the garden. And then this is the end result, the blooming garden in summer. So that's kind of the trajectory of that. And then this is another piece from the book by Julia Hacker. I love this piece because it's actually supposed to be the view of the garden through a small keyhole, which I think is really cool, which is why there's the circle around the piece. So yeah, every piece that you see in the home is actually from this novel. And you'll see the original text, the annotations from the scholars here, and then the art throughout. So our next novel is this Frankenstein. So my home is about to look a heck of a lot different. It's about to be a lot darker and moodier, a little bit more contemporary and abstract, but I think that's what's really cool about having kind of a living art gallery in my home. The word home means contentment. I think we live in a society that is constantly moving and is constant, really. And home is a place for me where I can step back, reflect on all of that I have, the wonderful family that I have, and be grateful, really. But yeah, it's a place of contentment, and it's a place that I can share with my daughter and my husband and family.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Michael.
I'm Thomas. Welcome to our home in Virginia. Please come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, I'm Michael Devine, and I'm a textile designer.
And I'm Thomas Burak. I'm an interior designer.
And we're in our home in Orange, Virginia, which is in central Virginia, a land of rolling hills and horse farms. We ended up in Orange. We had been looking desperately for 2.5 years in northwestern Connecticut and Millbrook, New York. And after 2 years of an unsuccessful search, to say the least. One night I was on Zillow, and I started on the Eastern Seaboard in Maine with our criteria, and I came down state by state, and I ran out of states at Maryland. And I thought, oh, well, I'd been to Virginia once for a book signing when my book came out, and it was wonderful. And I thought, well, let's see what's going on in Virginia. And there was a house in Virginia, in Orange, not this one, but another one that got us here. And that's what got us here. So the answer would be Zillow. So the architectural style of the house was actually designed by a well-known Charlottesville architect named Milton Grigg. And he had worked on Monticello at Williamsburg and had done a number of houses in sort of the 1950s, I think, to about the 70s. And this house was built in 1950. So it's very, it's a stone house. It's just a sort of Cape Cod style.
Welcome to our living room, which is painted a very dark gray, and the technique is lime wash, which gives the walls almost a suede-like finish. They're shaded. The color is called Caviar by Resource Paints. And I particularly like dark rooms at night. The walls seem to disappear. The colors jump from them at night. And we use a lot of candlelight in here also. And I think it gives a great mood to the room. All of the furniture came from previous our apartment in New York. And we'll start here with the banquette, which was in our dining room, which works perfectly in this corner of the room. And we chose this sort of rich gold and gray for the room so that it just has a richness to it. And these panels that I bought years ago at the flea market in Paris work perfectly and really kind of set the tone for the room. They were also used in our New York apartment in Gramercy. We have several things that are of interest. These are Fortuny fruits that I actually made myself. They're covered in Fortuny with vintage trim on a beautiful Italian tray table that we have. And over the years, we've collected many things like this that we purchased in Portugal. This came from Paris, and a lot of things that have a lot of meaning to us. A chair that I purchased in Italy. It's an Italian chair covered in a silk velvet. Particular interest in this room is this mirrored wall, which we actually inherited. And it's really 3 different panes that were all put together. And I think the original reason it was put in here was to give more reflection to the wall, or to the room, excuse me. But what we're looking at here is a collection of blue and white porcelains that we have collected over the years. Some of them actually were pieces that Michael collected before me and me before him. And the brackets that we used that we had some in Gramercy, we had some in the Country Place in Kinderhook, and just put all of the brackets up and to highlight all of the pieces. And some of them are vintage, some of them are newer pieces. And I particularly love the effect it gives, and particularly at night when you have the candles glowing and the chandelier and all the reflection in here just gives tremendous depth to the room. And I look at all of these pieces, and some of them are big and add drama, but I love particularly these little vases here that we did a grouping of 2 on each little bracket. They just have such a particular little charm about them versus just having the big pieces, which of course I love everything big and dramatic, but there's something wonderful about those 4 little vases. Of note in the room also is the mantle. The person that built the house collected a lot of salvage, and this came from a mansion in Richmond, which we think is really a spectacular piece, and the black and white tiles on the floor, and enhanced it with a beautiful French mirror that was bought in Paris years ago. These sconces that are sort of obstructed by the forsythia came from the DuPont mansion in Delaware. A collection of pillows that are varied. We have some Fortuny. We happen to have a particular love for Fortuny. This one is a vintage Fortuny pillow that was given to me by a friend, David Duncan, who's an antique dealer. And also, speaking of David Duncan, their Swedish chandelier came from his shop also. The chairs are covered in horsehair. It's an embroidery pattern, and when I designed this when I was creative director at Schumacher. So the fabric on here is from Schumacher. This is also a vintage Schumacher fabric that was in one of the collections I did for them. And we like a lot of antiques and mixing different styles. So we have Swedish. This particular piece is English, Victorian. It was actually the first piece of furniture I ever bought. This was even prior to Michael. I bought this at a sale and have had it ever since, wherever it's traveled with me. This is a Swedish desk. And we enhanced it with the hydrangeas, and I love doing these big arrangements. I think looking at the forsythia and looking at here, the things that are done in scale, that just have pizzazz to them, and these are hydrangeas that obviously have come from our property, and we just keep sticking them in there, and they dry beautifully, and from season to season we'll enhance and add a couple more or so forth. Throughout the room, which has a lot of formal furniture, we wanted to sort of tone it down with the rush on the floor, which gives it a little bit more casual country look. And this comes from a company called Rush House, and I really love the look of it. It just pulls everything down and makes it less complicated. We decorated this home to actually be our own personal style, very classic, traditional. We both love a lot of pattern, we love color, we love chintz, and we really made this very personal. We have many friends that come and love our home, and that's always a benefit. But I think anyone, and myself as a professional designer, feel you design your home to your own liking. We had many pieces of furniture that I'd collected over the years, and it all fit into this house beautifully. And all it did was we needed to do backgrounds and paint and wallpapering and so forth. And of course use a lot of Michael's fabrics in the house, which again give it such personal style.
But one of the great things about this house was it had been very well maintained over the years, so it really was what I call a paint and paper house. We didn't have to do massive renovations, which we had done both recently in New York and then also at our other country house up north. And that's just not our thing. We don't have a great fondness for tearing houses apart. It's great to do it for a client, but having lived through the horrors of the war twice, we didn't want to get involved in that again.
As you will notice, there are a lot of chairs in the room. Now I have a passion for chairs. I could have a room just full of them. And what we like about the chairs that are various sizes and feelings is that they can be moved. This can be, this is an easy chair to move if someone wants a conversation group here or if people want to add to there. And what I love about them is that they're different styles, they're different finishes. Here, this little child's chair that we picked up in an antique shop actually was upholstered in this fabric, oddly enough, and it had double welt, which is a no-no in our book. So I took off the double welt and applied a gimp to the chair. This was a vintage chair that we bought, and this happens to be a Schumacher fabric that I was responsible for when I was at Schumacher. It is a vintage. I just happened to have enough of it to cover this chair. And we love the collection of chairs. I think they sort of tell a story. who sat in them, how was this made, how was this designed. I think the Italian chair is of particular interest because if you look at the front of the chair, it's all decorated with white and gold, and this more than likely would have been placed against a wall because if you notice, the back has no gold. It's just plain. There's no carving on the legs and the back and the inside. So this would have been typically placed against the back of the wall. And a lot of things were done like that. Gold gilded candlesticks had that same thing. This is not gilded in the back because they were used on the altar. You would not have seen the back. We're on our way to the dining room, but as we go through the entry to the house, which is rather small, but we think it has impact and it's kind of a work in progress. We feel like we want to do some other additional work on the walls. But of particular note in here is the tiger carpet that runs up the stairs from Patterson Flynn Martin. It's a done by a French mill. It's 39 inches in width, so it is a very vintage kind of carpet. And I upholstered the banisters with a linen velvet, which happens to be one of my favorite fabrics, and of course the silk tassels from Brunswick. I happen to adore tassels and any kind of trimming. I think if I had a dog, I'd probably trim it. But this floor, again, is the slate and marble that was put in by the person that built the house. And it gives you almost a sense of an 18th century French chateau. The chandelier is kind of fun. We felt the porcelain flowers with the wood basket gave the entry some character. And of particular note here is a painting that was given to us by a friend, and it's a painting of oranges, and of course we are in Orange, Virginia. So it has a great meaning to us, as does the friend, and of course the painting that she gave to us. My background is in interior design, and I have always loved doing interiors and so forth. I skewed away from that for a bit and was involved in doing furniture showrooms, which is basically still design. At one point, I was Vice President and Creative Director for Schumacher Fabrics. So that is related to the home, obviously. And since fabric and color are my passion, that was a wonderful point in my career. And then I bounced back to interior design. Which I do love. I love doing it for myself and I love doing it for clients. And one of the greatest satisfactions of doing people's homes is when they tell you how much they love it or they love a particular corner in their room that they spend their time in with their, reading a book and having a glass of wine.
I started my career in New York and went through the Bloomingdale's buying program and spent 5 years in New York, and then randomly on a lark got accepted to the Sorbonne and ended up at the Sorbonne for a year studying French and then another year at the École de Louvre. Came back to New York and serendipitously landed at Condé Nast as a party and style editor for 6.5 years, where I wrote two weekly columns for HFN magazine. And then I started my textile company, and we now work on interior design. So, and I wrote, and in the meantime, I also wrote a book for Rizzoli, An Invitation to the Garden, on entertaining in our garden in Kinderhook. Welcome to the dining room. This is one of our favorite rooms in the house. When we moved in, we thought we would do something rather unusual in that we only light the dining room with candlelight. So the chandelier is candles, and it takes about 22 candles for a dinner party, which makes us very grateful that we have IKEA's candles to use because the box of 50 is so inexpensive. We've set the table with various things we've collected, the salt cellars and the pepper shakers. The birds are all things that we've found along life's journey. The fabric is actually a fabric that I designed for my hand-printed textile collection, and it's called Orangerie. The dinnerware is a beautiful pattern called Charlotte, which is based on one of my fabric patterns, and it's hand painted in France by Marie Dage, and as is the Thomas dinner plate, which coordinates back to the Thomas fabric that we do for the collection. The napkins are really interesting in that they're the typical linen damask napkins that pretty much everybody has in their house or have inherited from their grandmothers, but we dyed them with Rit dye to give them a new lease on life. The flowers are all from the garden. When we were very fortunate in that we inherited a rather significant collection of historic daffodils. So we have a wealth of varieties of daffodils, and these are Euphorbia Caracus rufii that were also grow in the garden, and that's a great plant. It looks fantastic all year and is very generous and self-sows itself all over the place, which makes it a very welcome friend in the garden. The walls, when we moved in and saw the house, I thought, we were sort of debating about what we should do about the walls, and I had offhandedly told Thomas that I would paint the walls and do a mural. Well, it took a while to get the mural together, but I finally did this winter. So this was my winter project, which was rather a nice project because I'd be in here every morning painting while I had the light with a fire going and a cup of tea. And the councils are a pair. We had them in our Gramercy apartment. Thomas had found them on a trip to Italy years ago. So we're very happy to have found a new place for them in the house. And the color is Bougainvillea by Resource Paint. It's a really striking color, and it's a color that I think works very well in the room with the floor and the marble mantle. The mantle is from a historic house in Richmond. It was salvage, as is the floor. The wall sconces are from Nerman Weeks. We had these in our dining room in Gramercy Park, as is the cobalt mirror is an antique that Thomas found on a trip, I believe, to Sweden. These we found together last summer in France when we were at Porte de Valme Flea Market. We fell upon those and just had to have them. And then on the table, we also have vases from our travels. The small vases with the daffodils are from Petersham's in Richmond, which is a fantastic nursery. If you ever happen to be in Richmond, England, I highly recommend a day trip out there to see that, and maybe Ham House, which is not too far away. And then I also recommend a lunch at their Michelin star restaurant, which was a real treat. A friend of ours took us there when we were visiting a few years ago. When we're entertaining, I'm often envious of Thomas because since I cook, I am obviously get to spend more time in the kitchen than he does, and he gets to spend the time with the guests. When we moved into the house, the original dining room was the library because they had added on the kitchen in the early 2000s. But when we moved in, we decided we wanted to make this the dining room. And it's a beautiful room. We love this room. But the issue happens to be that the dining room is quite a distance from the kitchen. So I get to hear all the laughter while I'm in the kitchen getting everything ready to bring out. And I get a little, like I said, I get a little bit jealous of Thomas for that, for having that privilege. So speaking of the kitchen, let me show you just how far it is to the kitchen. And now we're walking through the hyphen, which connects the older part of the house with the relatively newer part of the house. And this is a great space because it transitions. We used one of my wallpapers called Millbrook on the walls, which I had designed with the idea for another house that we ended up obviously not buying. The curtains were ones that I designed and used a design from John Fowler, from Colfax and Fowler, because we wanted to have that sort of John Fowler, Nancy Lancaster reference in our house in Virginia, since she's from Charlottesville. The collection in the corner cabinets, which were part of the house when we bought it, is Mulberry, and that's a collection that Thomas had acquired over the course of his travels. Follow me and let's go to the kitchen. I think the soul of a house, it comes from the owners of the house and their collections and their personalities and their imprint on the rooms and how they arrange a table, how they arrange the flowers, whatever that may be, as whatever they think is their vision. That's what gives the house the character and that sort of joie de vivre.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. I think that the way we approach everything when we're just even ourselves, having dinner by candlelight, and it's what our passion is. Our passion is perfection, which can sometimes be very daunting.
Well, my passion isn't perfection. No one's ever accused me of that.
No, that's true. That would be my category.
That's your circus, not mine.
Yes, when Michael leaves the room, I go in after him and fluff a little bit more. But yes, anyway, one of us has a passion.
It's a very
but you
good.
do all the cooking.
It's yin yang, And we have separate domains. I think that's been the secret in the sauce for the last 25 years. Here we are in the kitchen. This was added in the early 2000s, and it's got amazing light because of the 3 skylights. And then also the views out onto the garden are pretty wonderful too. It makes it a very inviting, airy, light room. When we moved in, I realized that we really didn't have enough storage for our pots and pans. So I found this fantastic rack, and it's the most amazing thing because I can see exactly which pot and pan and where they are, and it makes life a lot easier than searching for them in the bottom of a cabinet. We have part of our glassware collection. Since we do a lot of entertaining, we have a lot of glasses. This is the tea and coffee bar that we have set up, and we use that every day, all day long. The tiles are... I had seen the photos of Monet's kitchen in Giverny for years, and then finally in 2017 we took a visit to Giverny, and I absolutely fell in love with them and had to have them in my dream kitchen. So in 2021 we made the journey to the little tile factory that Monet had used, which is Ponchon in Ponchon, France, and when Monet would have bought the tiles, it was a group of 7 factories, and now it's one small atelier with an amazing artist who is keeping the tradition alive. So these are all hand painted, and we did a custom glaze, so they really tie into the ones that Monet had in his kitchen. And then we were also able to do a portrait of the house in the center. And since the name of the house is Oakton, we have the oak leaves to the upper left. And since we have so many squirrels, which in my opinion now are really tiny terrorists, we did a portrait of the squirrel. And then Thomas can talk about the renovation that we did in here.
Yes, we did a simple renovation. Well, maybe it wasn't so simple, but the cabinets were originally kind of a light honey color, and we decided we wanted to get them painted, so we used a floor paint from Resource. And a floor paint on cabinets gives you a lot of durability and so forth, because if you think of it in terms of putting it on a floor, you can walk on it. We don't walk on our cabinets, but they do get some use, so the floor paint does help. We added the curtains behind the glass doors since we inherited the cabinets, and we really didn't want to see what's inside of them. Cabinets can get messy, so it's just, I think it gives it a nice cleaner look. We installed the butcher block counters, which I think give a nice warmth to them. Replace the hardware, replace the marble that was here. There was a granite here, and it just all looks much lighter and brighter. And as Michael said, with all the light coming in from the skylights, it's a very pleasant room to work in. Although Michael's the one that primarily works in the kitchen, I do the cleanup. But anyway, the look of the room is just very, sort of casual country. There's a needlepoint cushion on one of the chairs that Michael did. It's a cabbage, so that has kind of interest adds some interest to the kitchen. Some artwork and pieces that we've picked up over the years, obviously sort of kitchen related, the cabbage, the grapes, the still life, the naturemort, and more vegetables and so forth. Here we have a few pieces of Majolica that are scattered through the house, a couple of plates at the top there, some pictures sitting on the counter. The sconces that we have on this stone wall, it's stone and brick, very rustic sconce that I bought years ago in Milan and had used them in various locations, and they seem to be the most perfect here. Above the armoire is a painting that a dear friend of ours gave us. We admired it, and she had inherited many pieces from this artist, and she gifted that to us, and it has very special meaning, and it has a bit more of a modern look than most of the artwork in our house, but then it's combined with our collection of blue and white. I guess by now you understand that we do love blue and white. Several of these pieces were purchased in Paris recently, and combined it with a few white stoneware pitchers and so forth.
So we really rely on what's growing in the garden. So since we're in Virginia, we pretty much have something out there 12 months out of the year. The winter is obviously much more driven by leeks and parsnips and rutabagas and lettuces, whereas in the spring and summer and fall we have wealth of great produce that we can just go out the back door and pick, and that drives all the menus and what we eat. So we eat very seasonally.
I think as far as when we start looking at designing the home and so forth, we really seem to gravitate towards very similar things. We seem to agree on most things. There are those occasions that we might disagree or look at things differently, but we pretty much have the same eye. If we go to an antique show or an antique shop, it seems like we'll both gravitate to one thing. It's very uncanny. So we really had an easy time doing the house. There are a couple things that might not have been so easy, but I think overall it's been good.
Well, you know, and we don't really argue ever, which is great. But if we do hit an impasse in the process, we just stop until we can sort of, and then it just doesn't get done really. That's the way that works.
And here we are in our library, which is probably the most used room in the house. It has a certain warmth, not only in the wintertime, but also throughout the year. We use the fireplace constantly. We also have a small dining area in here that we have dinner many nights, and we will also entertain in this room. This is a room that sort of everyone that comes to the house gravitates to. The color of the walls just kind of envelops the room with this wonderful sort of blue-green, sort of almost an undescribable color, and takes on different feelings as the light changes and so forth. One of the biggest things in the room is our collection of Russian Impressionistic paintings, as you will see throughout the room on both sides of the fireplace. They're here on either side of the doorway. There's some interspersed in the bookcases. These were things that I started collecting. I had a particular affinity to them. They sort of remind me of my background, and I particularly love some of them are unfinished, and they come from various different artists. All of them are signed on the back, which is rather unusual for most artwork, and I put lucite on the back so you could read the signatures. The room is anchored by an antique Ushak rug, which was originally purchased for our Gramercy Park apartment. It has wonderful colors and rather unusual for an Ushak, the browns and the greens and the golds, and it's very rich. And the sofa was custom made that we've had for years, and it's upholstered in what is one of my favorite fabrics. It's an Italian linen velvet, which just wears like iron, and as it gets older, it just mellows, and it has this wonderful shading effect to it, and you can see how it varies with the way the light hits it and so forth. And on the sofa are a collection of needlepoint pillows. Some of the pillows like this and the two on the end there were done by Michael. The other ones are antique needlepoint pillows.
Particularly all the garden books have almost all been read cover to cover by me over the last 10 years or so. And certainly all the French novels have from when I lived in Paris and was at the Sorbonne. So I have, and even after, obviously, I lived in Paris. I've continued to read in French. So yes, all of those. And then that section is sort of the to be read section. But yes, the books are constantly on and off the shelves. And use them as reference we use them for references for design work, for the garden, for just the pleasure of looking at them, really, for enjoying the photography, enjoying the ideas.
And I would have to say that the section that has most appeal to me are the decorating books that we have a large collection of, that I'm a little bit more apt to read those than the garden books, which is Michael's category, or the cookbooks on this side, which is his category. But all in through here, different designers that we've collected through the years, and they're great reference books. I mean, some evenings we'll just sit and just pull a whole bunch of them and sit in the chaise and just spend the night flipping through beautiful rooms. The bus in the room I purchased at an antique show in Southampton, and in those days there was a big outdoor antique show, and these were just sitting on the ground, and I had to have them. They obviously are not very mobile, and I had to have obviously had them delivered to the apartment, and I had these pedestals. And when I told the man to put the bus on the pedestals, he refused because he said those busts will collapse, those pedestals. So I had to have the pedestals reinforced with a new base and so forth, and they have stood their time in Gramercy, and now they're standing their time in our library in Orange. And the busts are made of marble and bronze, which obviously makes them extremely heavy. As you notice in this room, we have a lot of pattern and color. And the thing when mixing patterns together, you have to look at the individual piece. Like this piece over here, the chaise has a lot of pattern, but if you put something like this right on top of it, it might look a bit confusing. You have to think of things separate in the room as individual pieces, and how do they relate to the wall, how do they relate to the floor, and in this particular case, the toile ties into the brown, this chair ties into the green of the carpet, as does the sofa and the chair that we did in the same velvet. The pattern of all of the pillows, again, contrasts against a solid background. So again, I think if the sofa had a lot of pattern on it, it might be too much. And I think that having the dark green as a background, it just gives you this individual piece and their individual moments. The moment here where you have the tapestry on the wall, again, some pattern, but it's separated by wall color, it's separated by the table and chairs, and that makes for a particular, almost separate area in the room as a separate dining area.
How did we meet?
How did we meet?
Oh, well, it's rather a classic story. We met across a crowded room. We were in Chicago 25 years ago in this April, and at a color conference and for work, and I had gotten to the conference opening remarks late, and I had to sit in the balcony, and I looked down amongst, I don't know, 600-700 heads, and I saw Thomas and thought, my, he looks cute. So, yeah, and then we ended up in a small breakout room with on our little committee that we were working on at 10 people, and we're waiting and waiting and waiting for this one person, which now, 25 years later, I know why we were waiting, because Thomas has a terrible sense of direction. So, and in walked Thomas, and that's it. 25 years later, here we are.
Across the table, those blue eyes were just staring at me. What could I do? And here we are. I guess it worked.
Every day's been bliss. Let's go in the sunroom. And now we're in the sunroom. This is the one room in the house that probably had the biggest change since we moved in. When we moved in, there were bookcases on all 3 walls. The French doors were closed off with a bookcase in front of them. And then we opened that back up, took out all the bookcases. The walls are lime washed in a pale, pale pink to complement the red and oranges in the bricks. The floor is brick, which is a fantastic floor for a plant room because if water gets on it, it's low maintenance. The pieces of furniture are pieces that we found. We found this chair at auction, and we found this East Lake chaise at Brimfield, Massachusetts, at the flea market there. Both of them are covered in my Walton fabric, which is hand printed. And then the mirror we found in the Finger Lakes at a little antique store hidden away in the back corner. And it's an interesting melange of bits and bobs and shells and a little cameo on the top. So it's a really fun piece. The plants are in here for the season. They're as anxious to get outside as I am to get them outside, which should be happening in about another week or two. The wire plant stand is a plant stand that we actually found at a flea market in the Finger Lakes at Madison Bachville years ago, and it's the perfect piece for in here. This little table and chairs, the chairs we actually bought at auction for a house that we were absolutely certain we were going to buy and did not buy. So there you have it. But fortunately, these chairs worked in this house, so we were able to paint them and use them in this sunroom. And then the French doors were a big project because we had to knock through the wall and have the doors custom made.
And one of the things that Michael didn't point out are the 2 chandeliers that were in the house. They were not in this room. There was, I think, recessed lighting in here. But they're really quite fanciful. They almost look like icing on a cake if you look very close to the way the bronze comes over the bowl of the chandelier. And they were in 2 different rooms in the house, and we sort of put them in here. And on these brackets are these really fanciful, they are vases actually, that were given to us by our dear friends in New York. So let's go and check out the rest of the house. So before we go upstairs, let's check out the powder room. This was actually a full bath, and we really use it as a powder room for our guests. So what we did is there's a full shower behind here, and we added these doors to conceal the shower, and they're upholstered in a beautiful Fortuny fabric, which happens to be one of my favorite patterns, and also Fortuny is one of the loves of my fabrics. The walls were done by Michael, where you see they're a shaded shade of green. They're all sort of antiqued and washed. And in here we also have a collection of French garden gates in the sepia tones. What I did, since it's always hard to find tissue box holders, I actually decoupaged this myself to have that same sort of black and white feeling. These are drawings of Michelangelo, And we also added the monkey sconces, which I think give a little bit of a whimsical touch to the powder room. The sitting monkeys at the window, and we also use these little guest towels with monkeys on them. So you get a bit of a theme without getting too carried away. We added the piece of furniture here, and the dark wood against the green walls gives a certain richness. This is the old Paris Opera, and then we have an Italian piece above it. When Michael said that we were looking at houses in Virginia, I thought he was actually crazy. I said, why Virginia? We've never been there.
I'd been there.
Or he had been there, and I just thought it was a little absurd, but came down and fell in love with Virginia, and obviously fell in love with the house that we ended up buying. So I guess in the long run, he was right.
Well, we also have to credit our friend Charlotte Moss, because we'd been at a cocktail party that she was hosting for another friend, Margot Shaw, for her book, Flower. And I'd asked Charlotte about Orange, Virginia, and her response was so overwhelming positive that's what I think got onboarded Thomas to the idea, because really it was completely random and absurd for us to be looking in Virginia, because we had no connection to the area at all. 5 years later, I can say we have great connections to the area and have great friends here.
We do indeed.
Let's head upstairs. Now we're in the primary bedroom. This is a fantastic room. It has light on 3 sides. Since it didn't really have a full wall to place the bed on, we're floating the bed in the center, and we're flanking it with 2 screens that we covered in mohair velvet. And we have a collection of bits and bobs that we've acquired over the years that just each reflect our own personalities, and they're very different on either side of the bed. The chair under the window, it's one of a pair, and it's in one of my fabrics that I custom printed in the Gramercy pattern. The 2 chairs in front of the fireplace are 2 that we found in Woodstock, Vermont, in a little antique store. And then we had the tremendous good fortune of finding a very large curtain panel made out of this beautiful Jean Monroe hand-printed fabric. And it even had the little ruched trim on the lead edge of the curtain. So when we had these redone, we reused the trim and added the gathered piping on the cord around the back of the chair and along the front edge of the seat. The needlepoint ottoman was my COVID project. I did that in Berlin work, and I followed an 1840s charted pattern, so it was not a painted pattern on a canvas, but I counted all the stitches. So that was, COVID was a long period, that lockdown, so needed something to do. So that was the project. Originally started life as a rug, but Thomas decided that it needed to be an ottoman, that he didn't want to use it as a rug. We have another collection of blue and white that we've acquired, just bits and bobs. This is a painting that we found in upstate New York in a little antique shop. These bronze lamps are rather special. Thomas just found these years ago at an antique store in High Point. The finials are particularly lovely. The bed hangings are made from one of my fabrics, Thomas, and the pattern's Thomas, and we custom printed it in the blue on cream linen and linen and silk ground cloth. And the interior is lined with a coordinating green damask fabric. And the hellebores are from the garden. This is my side, so it has a bit of a different theme to it.
Okay, now we are in our dressing area, which this area has a particular fondness for me, since I actually upholstered all the walls, covered all the doors, and even covered the moldings with a antique linen velvet. So it just gives a wonderful, almost jewel box-like feeling. It's a great background for small bits of artwork and things that we've collected over the years. There's a collection of menswear that were ads for a French magazine. And this is pretty much the area that all of our closets are in. This also transitions into the guest bedroom, which also the guest bedroom has an entrance from the other end of the house. What the word home means to me is a place that you can put yourself in, surround yourself with things that are so personal to you that you enjoy just sitting and looking at them. You enjoy them. Home is where we enjoy each other, where we enjoy our friends, and it really is a sanctuary to get away from the world. No matter what's going on, when you're at home, you're surrounded by your environment, and no one can touch you at that point. It's you.
Yes, I don't know that I could elaborate on that any better.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.